Blood ran down her shin. Her voice broke apart. She was only 17 when she collapsed at the feet of 20 bikers and screamed for her life. Behind her, 30 feet away, a man in a gray hoodie stood motionless, watching, smiling, as if he had already won. "He's going to kill me," she gasped, her fingers clawing at the gravel. "Dear God, someone please help me. He won't stop. He'll never stop." The bikers looked at her face, then at him, and what happened in the next 60 seconds changed everything. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button now because you'll want to see how this ends. And leave a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's go back to where it all began. Riley Martinez had exactly 47 minutes before her father's truck pulled into the driveway, and she was spending 30 of them in the Lincoln High Library pretending to study while actually watching the man who'd been staring at her for the past 20 minutes. He sat 3 tables away, laptop open, fingers motionless on the keyboard. Mid-30s, clean-cut gray hoodie. Nothing remarkable except for one thing: he wasn't looking at his screen. He was looking at her. Had been for 20 minutes straight. Riley's stomach twisted. She'd learned to trust that feeling. That cold, creeping sensation that started in her gut and spread through her chest like ice water. She packed her backpack slowly, deliberately, keeping her movements calm even though her hands wanted to shake. When she stood, he stood. When she walked toward the exit, he closed his laptop. When she pushed through the library doors into the Phoenix evening heat, she heard footsteps behind her. "Excuse me." His voice was pleasant, friendly even. Riley kept walking. "Hey, I think you dropped something." She hadn't dropped anything. She knew she hadn't. But something made her stop, turn, look. Big mistake. He stood 6 feet away, close enough that she could see his eyes, pale blue, intense, locked on her face like she was the only person in the world. "I didn't drop anything," Riley said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "My mistake." He smiled. "I'm Marcus. I've seen you here before. You're always studying so hard. Junior, senior." Everything in Riley's body screamed danger. "I have to go." "I didn't mean to scare you." But he didn't move. "I just transferred here for work. IT contractor. Don't know many people yet. Thought maybe—" "I'm 17. The words hung between them. Marcus's smile didn't falter. I was just being friendly." "I have to go," Riley repeated. This time she turned and walked fast, not quite running but close. She didn't look back until she reached her car 2 blocks away. When she did, the parking lot was empty. But the feeling in her stomach stayed. That was 3 weeks ago. The day everything started. Riley didn't tell her father about the library. What would she say? "A man talked to me and I got a bad feeling. Carlos Martinez drove 18-wheelers cross-country, gone 10 days out of every 14. He worried about her enough already, single dad raising a daughter after Riley's mom died when she was 8. She'd learned early not to add to his burden with problems she could handle herself. Except this problem didn't go away. 2 days after the library incident, Riley stopped at Desert Bloom Coffee before school. While she waited for her vanilla latte, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You look tired today." "Late night, studying." Riley stared at the screen. Probably spam. She deleted it. 30 seconds later, "I like your blue backpack. Same one from the library." Her heart stopped. She spun around, scanning the coffee shop. 20 people, maybe more. Half of them on their phones, none of them looking at her. She blocked the number. At school, she couldn't concentrate. Ms. Peterson's AP government lecture about constitutional rights turned into white noise. Riley kept checking her phone, kept looking at the doorway, kept waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. Not that day. But the next morning she found a note tucked under her windshield wiper. White paper, neat handwriting. "You're even prettier when you smile. You should do it more often." Riley's hand shook as she looked around the student parking lot. Hundreds of cars. Dozens of students arriving for first period. Anyone could have left it. Anyone could be watching right now. She drove to the school resource officer's portable building and waited 20 minutes for Officer Dunham to finish his coffee and actually listen. "So a guy talked to you at the library. You got some texts and someone left a note on your car. Dunham leaned back in his chair, which creaked under his weight. Did he threaten you? No, but did he touch you? No. Did he follow you home? I don't know. I don't think so. Dunham sighed like she was wasting his time. Look, Riley, I know it feels creepy, but legally there's not much here. Guy made conversation in a public place. Someone sent you compliments. Weird. Sure. Criminal. Not really. He knows what I wear. He knows where I go. Did you post any of that on social media? Riley's jaw tightened. Some. But there's your answer. Block him on everything. Make your accounts private. Don't respond to messages from people you don't know. Dunham grabbed a pamphlet from his desk, faded dog-eared, titled Internet Safety for Teens. This has good tips, but unless he makes a direct threat or shows up at your house, there's really nothing law enforcement can do. Riley took the pamphlet, walked out, threw it in the nearest trash can. That night, her father called from somewhere in Nevada. How's school, mija? Fine. Riley stirred pasta sauce on the stove phone pressed between her shoulder and ear. You sound weird. Something wrong. She almost told him, almost explained about Marcus and the messages and the note. But Carlos was 800 miles away hauling electronics to Sacramento, and what could he do except worry? Just tired, she said. Big test tomorrow. You're smart. You'll ace it. His voice softened. I'll be home Friday night. We'll get dinner at that Thai place you like. Sounds good, Dad. After they hung up, Riley triple-checked the locks on every door and window. She knew it was paranoid. She did it anyway. The messages came from different numbers after that, different apps, different email addresses, but always the same voice, the same tone, the same undercurrent of something that made Riley's skin crawl. You looked stressed after school today. Everything okay? Blue really is your color. You wore it 3 times this week. I saw you talking to that boy in the parking lot. Is he bothering you? I can make him stop. That last one made Riley's blood turn to ice. Jake Ferguson was a friend from freshman year. Nothing romantic, just someone who'd asked about the calculus homework. But Marcus had seen them, had watched, had made assumptions. Riley blocked every number, every account. It didn't matter. He always found a new way through. Her grades started slipping. Not much A's to B's, but enough that Mr. Ramirez kept her after AP Chemistry. This isn't like you, Riley. You're one of my strongest students. Is everything all right at home? Everything's fine. Because if you need to talk to someone, the school counselor, your father, anyone, I said I'm fine. She wasn't fine. She was barely sleeping. Every night she'd lie awake listening for sounds that didn't belong. Footsteps outside her window. Car engines idling too long on her street, the creak of floorboards that might not be the house settling. Her phone buzzed constantly with notifications from blocked numbers, finding new ways to reach her. She'd started keeping it on airplane mode, but then she'd panic that her father might call and she'd miss it, so she'd turn it back on and the messages would flood in. Why are you ignoring me? I thought we had a connection. I know you feel it too. You're just scared. That's okay. I'm patient. You can't avoid me forever, Riley. We're meant to talk. Face to face. Soon. Soon. That word became a countdown in her mind, ticking towards something inevitable. 2 weeks after the library, Riley joined track practice late because she'd been in the counselor's office. Ms. Chen had finally listened. Really listened when Riley broke down and explained everything. The stalking, the messages, the constant feeling of being watched. This is serious, Ms. Chen had said. Have you documented everything? I screenshot the messages before I blocked them. I kept the note from my car. Good, that's good. I want you to file a police report. Not with the school resource officer, go to the actual police station. Ask for Detective Morrison. She handles these cases. Will they actually do anything? Ms. Chen's hesitation told Riley everything. They should. But I'll be honest with you, stalking cases are hard to prosecute until there's a direct threat or physical contact. But you need to start a paper trail. If this escalates, if When? Ms. Chen corrected softly. When this escalates, you'll have documentation. That matters in court. Court. The word made Riley's stomach turn. What am I supposed to do until then? Just wait for him to attack me? No, you stay vigilant. You trust your instincts. You never go anywhere alone. You tell your father everything. Riley nodded but didn't promise anything. Her father was due home in 2 days. She'd tell him then. Maybe. By the time she got to the track, the team was already running sprints. Coach Williams waved her over. Martinez, you're late. That's not like you. Sorry, Coach. Counselor's office. His expression shifted. Everything okay? Yeah, fine. She wasn't fine. As she ran her warm-up lap, Riley felt eyes on her back. She turned, scanning the area beyond the chain-link fence. Parents watching from the bleachers. Younger kids at the playground. Normal suburban afternoon scene. But there in the parking lot, a black sedan she didn't recognize. And inside it, barely visible through the tinted windshield, someone sitting in the driver's seat. Watching. Just watching. Riley's pace faltered. She stopped running, staring at the car. Her chest tightened. Martinez. Coach Williams jogged over. You okay? You look pale. That car, Riley pointed. Do you recognize it? Coach turned, squinting. Which one? Riley looked back. The parking spot was empty. The black sedan was gone. Never mind, she whispered. I thought I saw never mind. But she hadn't imagined it. She knew she hadn't. He'd been there. Marcus had been watching her run, and now he was gone, disappeared like smoke, like he'd never existed at all. That night, Riley couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound. The neighbor's dog barking, wind rattling the window, the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Normal sounds, safe sounds. Then a new sound, soft, deliberate, the crunch of footsteps on gravel. Riley sat up fast, heart slamming against her ribs. Her bedroom was on the second floor overlooking the backyard. She crept to the window, pulled the curtain back an inch, and looked down. A man stood in her backyard directly below her window, face tilted up, staring at her room. Marcus. She saw him clearly in the moonlight, gray hoodie, hands in pockets, that same pleasant smile, like they were old friends running into each other by chance. Riley screamed. She didn't mean to. The sound ripped out of her throat before she could stop it, raw and terrified. Marcus didn't run. He didn't flinch. He just smiled wider, lifted one hand in a small wave, then turned and walked away, slow, casual, like he had all the time in the world. Riley scrambled for her phone, fingers shaking so hard she nearly dropped it. She dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's a man in my backyard. He's been stalking me. Riley ran to the window again. The backyard was empty. He was just here. I saw him. Is he still on the property, ma'am? No. He left, but he was here. He's been following me for weeks, and what's your address? Riley gave it. Her voice kept breaking. She couldn't stop shaking. Officers are on the way. Can you describe the individual? White male, 30s, gray hoodie. His name is Marcus Webb. I don't know where he lives, but he told me he's an IT contractor. And have you had previous contact with this person? Yes. He approached me at the library. He's been sending me messages. Different numbers, different accounts. I blocked him, but he keeps... Are you alone in the house right now? That question made Riley's blood run cold. Yes. I need you to lock yourself in a room with your phone. Don't open the door for anyone except the police. Can you do that? Riley locked herself in the bathroom and sat on the floor with her back against the door. She called her father. It went to voicemail. He was probably sleeping in his truck at some rest stop. Dad, I need you to call me back. Please, something happened. I'm okay, but I need you to call me. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers, both male, both looking tired. Riley led them to the backyard, showed them where Marcus had stood. They shined flashlights across the grass, found nothing. No footprints, Officer Hayes said. Ground's pretty hard, though, wouldn't necessarily show prints. He was here, Riley insisted. I saw him, clear as day. I believe you, Hayes said. but his tone said otherwise. Has this individual made any threats against you? He keeps messaging me, telling me we're meant to be together, that we need to talk. Has he threatened violence? Not explicitly, but has he tried to touch you or physically harm you? No, but he's escalating. He knows where I live. He was in my backyard staring at my window and Officer Hayes held up a hand. I understand this is frightening. We're going to file a report. We'll increase patrols in your neighborhood. But I have to be honest with you. Unless he makes a direct threat or attempts physical contact, there's not a lot we can legally do. So I'm supposed to wait until he attacks me. No, you're supposed to document everything. Keep records of all contact. Don't respond to any messages. Make your social media private. Vary your routine. Tell people where you're going. I already did all that. He's still finding me. Hayes sighed. Look, I know it's frustrating. The law has limits, but we're taking this seriously. We'll file the report. If he contacts you again or shows up anywhere near you, call 911 immediately. After they left, Riley sat on the couch and waited for dawn. She didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Every shadow looked like Marcus. Every sound was him coming back. Her father called at 6 in the morning, voice thick with panic. Riley, what happened? Your message scared the hell out of me. She told him everything. The library, the messages, the note on her car, the man in their backyard. Everything she'd been hiding for 3 weeks. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm coming home. I'm dropping this load in Sacramento and I'm coming straight home. Dad, you'll lose the job if... I don't care. You're more important than any job. I'll be there by tonight. Don't leave the house. Don't go to school. Lock every door and window and don't open it for anyone except me. I'm supposed to run today. We have Riley Maria Martinez. You listen to me. You are not leaving that house. You are not going to school or track practice or anywhere until I get there. Do you understand? She understood. For the first time in 3 weeks, someone believed her. Someone was taking this seriously. Someone was coming to help. But Marcus Webb had 18 hours before her father got home. 18 hours to make his move. Riley spent the morning barricaded in the house, jumping at every sound. She'd pushed the couch against the front door. She'd closed every curtain. She'd grabbed the baseball bat from the garage and kept it next to her on the couch. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her chest tightened. She almost didn't look, almost threw the phone across the room. But she needed to document everything, just like everyone kept telling her. She opened the message. I saw the police last night. You didn't have to do that, Riley. I was just making sure you were safe. There are bad people in this world. I'm not one of them. I would never hurt you. I just want to talk. That's all I've ever wanted. Riley's fingers flew across the screen, typing a response before she could stop herself. Leave me alone or I'm getting a restraining order. She hit send, immediately regretted it. She'd responded. She'd engaged. She'd given him exactly what he wanted, confirmation that she was reading his messages, that she was scared that he had power over her. The reply came within seconds. A restraining order. That hurts, Riley. After everything I've done for you, watching over you, keeping you safe. You don't understand now, but you will, soon. We'll talk soon, and you'll see that I'm the only one who really understands you. The only one who sees how special you are. Riley threw her phone onto the couch and pulled her knees to her chest. She wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. She was beyond crying, beyond fear. She'd entered some strange, numb place where nothing felt real anymore. The doorbell rang. Riley froze. The doorbell rang again, then knocking, loud, insistent. Riley Martinez. This is Detective Morrison with Phoenix PD. Ms. Chen from your school called me. I need to talk to you about Marcus Webb. Riley crept to the window, pulled the curtain back an inch. A woman in her 40s stood on the porch, dark hair, pulled back badge on her belt. Professional, but not cold. Riley opened the door, but left the chain on. Can I see your badge? Detective Morrison held it up. Riley studied it carefully, then unlocked the chain. I know you're scared, Morrison said as she stepped inside. And you should be. I've been investigating stalking cases for 15 years, and everything you've described raises every red flag I have. Marcus Webb is dangerous. I need you to understand that. Then arrest him. I wish I could, but right now I can't. He hasn't made explicit threats. He hasn't physically harmed you. He hasn't violated any laws that I can charge him with. Yet. Riley's voice cracked. So I'm supposed to wait until he does violate a law, until he grabs me or breaks in or... No, you're supposed to let me help you build a case. Morrison pulled out a tablet. I ran his background. Marcus Webb. 34 years old, moved here from Nevada 6 weeks ago. In Nevada, 2 women filed police reports against him for stalking. Both cases were dropped because the women stopped cooperating. I spoke to one of them this morning. She said Marcus made her life hell for 8 months until she finally moved to a different state to get away from him. She never felt safe even after she left. Riley's mouth went dry. Why didn't they arrest him? Same reason we can't arrest him now. He never broke any laws. He was careful. Always stayed just on the legal side of the line. Never threatened, never touched, never did anything that would hold up in court. But he destroyed those women's lives anyway. What am I supposed to do? Morrison leaned forward. You fight. You document everything. You never engage with him. No responses, no acknowledgement, nothing. You vary your routine. You're never alone. And you trust that I am going to do everything in my power to catch this guy doing something illegal so I can arrest him and keep you safe. And if he doesn't do anything illegal, if he just keeps watching and following and terrifying me, then we get creative. Morrison's expression hardened. I didn't become a cop to tell victims there's nothing I can do. I'll be checking on you daily. I'll have patrol units watching your house, your school, anywhere you regularly go. And if Marcus Webb so much as breathes wrong in your direction, I will be there. It should have made Riley feel better. It didn't. Because Detective Morrison's words confirmed what Riley had already known in her gut. The system couldn't protect her until after Marcus made his move. And by then it might be too late. Out. Riley's father arrived at 9 that night looking like he'd aged 10 years in one day. He pulled her into a hug so tight she could barely breathe. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. I'm sorry I didn't believe you right away when you said something felt wrong. I'm sorry for... Dad, it's okay. It's not okay. You're my daughter. My only daughter. And some maniac is terrorizing you and I wasn't here. He pulled back hands on her shoulders. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. I'm taking leave from work. I'm not getting back in that truck until this is over. You can't do that. You need the job. I need you more. He looked around the living room couch, pushed against the door curtains, drawn baseball bat on the coffee table. We're going to fix this. Detective Morrison seems good. She's got a plan. We follow the plan, we document everything, and we catch this guy. Riley wanted to believe him. She really did. But something in her gut, that same instinct that had warned her about Marcus from the beginning, told her it wasn't going to be that simple. For 3 days, nothing happened. Riley stayed home from school. Her father worked from home processing payroll and logistics for his company. Detective Morrison called twice daily for updates. Patrol cars drove past their house every few hours. It felt like they were living in a bunker waiting for an attack that never came. Then, on the 4th day, Riley's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't look. But something made her check. I'm impressed, Riley. Your father's home. There's a police car driving by every few hours. You've built quite the fortress. But you can't stay hidden forever. Eventually, you'll have to come out. And when you do, I'll be waiting. Because this isn't over. This is just beginning. You and me, we have so much to talk about. Riley showed her father. He called Morrison immediately. Within an hour, Morrison was at their house with a tech specialist named Kenji. Can you trace the number? Carlos demanded. Already tried, Kenji said, fingers flying across his laptop. Burner phone purchased with cash at a convenience store in Tempe. He's smart. He knows how to stay anonymous. So what do we do? Morrison's jaw tightened. We wait for him to make a mistake, because he will. They always do. Men like Marcus Webb, they get arrogant. They think they're smarter than everyone. Eventually, he'll slip up. And what happens to my daughter while we're waiting for him to slip up? Carlos's voice rose. She's a prisoner in her own home. She can't go to school. She can't see her friends. She can't live her life because some psychopath decided to fixate on her. I know, and I'm sorry, but until he does something actionable. Actionable? Carlos slammed his hand on the table. He's stalking my daughter. How is that not actionable? Because the law is broken, Morrison said quietly. It's designed to protect people after they've been harmed, not before. I hate it. You hate it. But that's the reality we're working with. Riley listened to them argue about her life like she wasn't even there. She walked out of the room, went upstairs to her bedroom, and sat on the floor with her back against the door. Her phone buzzed again. I can hear your father yelling from here. He's angry. Protective. I respect that. But he can't stop this, Riley. No one can. We're inevitable. You'll understand soon. Riley screamed. She didn't mean to. The sound just ripped out of her frustration and fear and fury all mixed together. Her father was up the stairs in seconds. What happened? She shoved her phone at him. He read the message, his face going pale, then red, then pale again. That's it. We're leaving. We're packing a bag and we're driving to your aunt's house in California and we're staying there until this is over. He'll follow us. Not if we don't tell anyone where we're going. Dad, he found my cell number. He knows where we live. He's been tracking me for weeks. You think he won't figure out where we go? Riley stood, hands shaking. Running won't stop him. It'll just change the location. Then what do you want to do? Riley looked at her father, this strong, capable man who drove thousands of miles, who'd raised her alone, who'd never backed down from anything in his life. And she saw something she'd never seen before. He was terrified. Completely, utterly terrified. Because this was a threat he couldn't fight with his hands or his strength or his willpower. This was something that laws and distance and preparation couldn't fix. I want to live my life, Riley said quietly. I want to go back to school and run track and apply to colleges and do all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm not going to let him take that from me. Riley, I'm not stupid, Dad. I'll be careful. I won't be alone. I'll check in constantly, but I refuse to hide. Because if I hide, he wins, and I'm not letting him win. Carlos looked at his daughter and saw someone he hadn't seen before. Not his little girl, not the kid who used to cry when she scraped her knee, but someone stronger. Someone who'd been through hell and came out on the other side determined to fight back. Okay, he said finally. Okay, but I'm driving you to school. I'm picking you up. You don't go anywhere without me or Detective Morrison knowing exactly where you are. Deal. Deal. That night, Riley slept for the first time in days. Not because she felt safe, but because she'd made a choice. She wasn't going to be a victim. She was going to be a survivor. She just had no idea how much that choice was going to cost her. Going back to school felt like walking into enemy territory. Riley sat in her father's truck in the student parking lot watching kids stream through the front doors, laughing and talking and living normal lives. She hadn't felt normal in 3 weeks. Wasn't sure she'd ever feel normal again. You don't have to do this today, Carlos said. We can wait another week. No, I'm going. Riley grabbed her backpack and opened the door. I'll text you after every class, I promise. Riley. She turned back. I love you, mija, more than anything in this world. I love you too, Dad. Walking through those front doors took more courage than Riley knew she had. Every face looked like Marcus. Every man in a hoodie made her heart stop. Every car in the parking lot could be his black sedan. But she walked anyway. Head up, shoulders back, refusing to show fear even though fear was all she felt. Her friends descended on her immediately. Emma, Sarah, Jamal, her track teammates who'd been texting her constantly for 3 days straight. Oh my God, Riley, are you okay? Emma grabbed her hands. We heard you had the flu, but then someone said you were being stalked and I'm fine. Riley lied. Just needed a few days off. That's such crap. Sarah's eyes were sharp. You're not fine. You look exhausted. What's really going on? Riley almost told them. Almost explained everything. But Detective Morrison had warned her the fewer people who knew details, the better. Gossip spreads, information leaks, and Marcus was probably watching her social circle waiting for intel. "Family stuff," Riley said. "It's complicated, but I'm okay. Really." They didn't believe her, but they let it drop. The day passed in a blur. Riley texted her father after every class like she promised. She sat with her back to the wall in every room. She watched the doors. She tracked faces. She barely heard a word any teacher said. At lunch, she sat with her friends in their usual spot, but she couldn't eat. Her stomach was too tight. Emma kept making jokes, trying to get Riley to smile. Sarah talked about college applications. Jamal complained about Coach Williams making them run extra sprints. Normal conversation, normal concerns. Riley wanted to scream. How could everything be so normal when her entire world had tilted sideways? "Riley, you okay?" Emma touched her arm. "Yeah, sorry. Just tired." "You sure? Because you look like you're about to..." Riley's phone buzzed. She grabbed it automatically, expecting her father. The message on the screen made her blood turn to ice. "You're doing great today. Very brave. I'm proud of you. I knew you'd come back. I knew you wouldn't let me keep you away from your life. That's what I admire about you, Riley. Your strength. Your determination. We're more alike than you think. You'll see." Riley stood so fast her chair fell backward. She looked around this cafeteria. 300 students, dozens of staff, security guard by the door. Anyone could be him. Anyone. "Riley, what's wrong?" Sarah stood too. "I have to go." Riley grabbed her backpack. "Go where lunch isn't over." "I have to, I need..." Riley couldn't breathe. The cafeteria walls were closing in. Too many people, too many faces, too many places for Marcus to hide. She ran. Out of the cafeteria, down the hall, through the front doors, into the parking lot. She called Detective Morrison. "He's here. Marcus is here. At my school. He just sent me a message saying he's watching me and..." "Where are you right now?" "Parking lot. Outside." "Get inside. Get to the front office. I'm 5 minutes away." Riley ran back inside, straight to the office. The secretary, Mrs. Palmer, took one look at Riley's face and came around the desk. "Honey, what's wrong?" "There's someone I need. The police are coming, Mrs." Palmer pulled Riley into the nurse's office and locked the door. "You're safe. Breathe. Tell me what happened." Riley showed her the message. Mrs. Palmer's expression went from concerned to furious. She got on the phone immediately, calling the principal, calling security, putting the school on alert. Detective Morrison arrived 6 minutes later with 3 patrol officers. They swept the campus, checked every classroom, every hallway, every bathroom. They found nothing. "He's not here," Morrison said. But he was. Maybe in the parking lot, maybe across the street. Close enough to see you, but far enough to avoid detection. "So what now?" Riley's voice shook. "He's just going to keep doing this. Watching me, sending messages, making me feel insane. No, now we change tactics." Morrison's expression hardened. "You've done everything right, documented everything, stayed vigilant, followed procedure. But this guy isn't backing off. He's escalating, so we need to escalate too." "How?" "We set a trap. We make him think you're vulnerable. We give him an opportunity to make a move, but we control the environment completely. Cameras, undercover officers, everything. And when he shows up, and he will show up, we catch him doing something illegal." Riley's father had arrived by then. He'd gotten Morrison's call and broken every speed limit getting to the school. "Absolutely not. You are not using my daughter as bait." "Mr. Martinez, I understand your concern." "No, you don't. You don't have a daughter. You don't know what it feels like to know some maniac is stalking her, and the only plan law enforcement has is to dangle her in front of him like a piece of meat." "Dad." "No, Riley. No, we're not doing this." "What's the alternative?" Riley turned to face him. "I keep living like this, hiding, scared. Waiting for him to eventually corner me somewhere, because that's what's going to happen. You know it. I know it. Detective Morrison knows it. He's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. So we leave. We pack up and we move and he follows us. You know he will. This is who he is. This is what he does. He's stalked women across state lines before. Leaving won't stop him. Nothing will stop him except putting him in prison. Riley looked at Morrison. I'll do it. I'll be the bait. Whatever you need. Carlos started to protest again, but Riley cut him off. Dad, please. I need to do this. I need to fight back. I need to stop being a victim and become someone who fights back. The room went quiet. Morrison looked at Riley with something like respect. Carlos looked at his daughter and saw someone who'd grown up faster than he'd wanted her to. Someone who'd learned the hard truth. Sometimes courage doesn't mean being unafraid. Sometimes it means being terrified and doing it anyway. If, and I mean if we do this, Carlos said slowly, it has to be completely controlled. Bulletproof. I want a dozen officers. Yeah, I want cameras everywhere. I want no room for error. Because if anything happens to her, nothing will happen to her, Morrison promised. You have my word. 2 days later, they set the trap. The plan was simple. Riley would post on her semi-public Instagram account that she was going to Desert Botanical Garden Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to take photos for her photography class. She'd be alone. Her father had to work, couldn't drive her, but she'd taken an Uber there. She'd be vulnerable, accessible, the perfect target. None of it was true. Riley's father wasn't working. She didn't take an Uber. And she definitely wouldn't be alone. Detective Morrison had 6 undercover officers positioned throughout the garden. 3 dressed as tourists, 1 as a maintenance worker, 2 in unmarked vehicles in the parking lot, all wearing hidden cameras, all in radio contact, all armed. Riley wore a wire, tiny microphone clipped inside her jacket transmitter hidden in her backpack. Morrison could hear every word, every breath. Carlos wanted to be there, but Morrison had forbidden it. He might recognize you. We can't risk it. You need to trust that we have your daughter covered. Trust. That word again. Riley was running out of trust. But she was committed now. No backing out. She walked through the garden entrance at 10:15, purposely 15 minutes late to give Marcus time to see the post to show up to position himself. The morning was cool desert air, crisp and clean. Families wandered through the displays. Couples took selfies with cacti. Everything looked normal. Beautiful even. Riley's heart hammered so hard she thought the wire might pick up the sound. She followed the prescribed route past the succulent garden through the butterfly exhibit down toward the desert loop trail. She stopped occasionally to take photos with her phone, trying to look natural, trying to pretend her hands weren't shaking. 20 minutes passed. Nothing happened. Riley started to think maybe he wouldn't show. Maybe the trap wouldn't work. Maybe Marcus was smarter than they thought. Then she saw him. Gray hoodie, hands in pockets. Standing next to a Palo Verde tree 50 feet away, just watching her, that same smile on his face. Riley's breath caught. She whispered, "He's here. Northeast corner by the trees." Morrison's voice crackled in her earpiece. "We see him. Stay calm. Let him approach. We need him to engage first." Marcus started walking toward her. Slow, deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. Every instinct in Riley's body screamed run, but she stood still, waiting, letting him come to her. He stopped 6 feet away. Up close in daylight, he looked so normal. Average height, clean-shaven, pleasant face, the kind of guy who'd help you carry groceries or hold the door open. Nothing about him screamed predator, except his eyes. His eyes were wrong, too intense, too focused, like she was the only real thing in his entire world. "Hello, Riley." His voice was exactly how she remembered it from the library, friendly, warm, completely at odds with what he'd been doing to her for 3 weeks. "What do you want?" Riley's voice came out steadier than she felt. "Just to talk. That's all I've ever wanted, to talk. To get to know you, to show you that I'm not what you think I am. You've been stalking me." "Stalking?" Marcus shook his head like she'd said something ridiculous. "No, Riley. I've been protecting you, watching over you, making sure you're safe. There are dangerous people in this world. People who'd hurt you. I'm not one of them. You stood outside my bedroom window. I was making sure your house was secure, making sure no one else was watching you. Because I care about you, Riley. I care about you more than anyone else in your life. Your father is never home. Your friends don't really see you. Your teachers don't appreciate how special you are, but I do. I see you." Riley's stomach turned. "I want you to leave me alone." "I can't do that." Marcus took a step closer. Morrison's voice hissed in Riley's ear. "We need more. We need him to threaten you or touch you." "Why not?" Riley forced herself to stay still, even though every muscle in her body wanted to run. "Because we're meant to be together. I've known it from the moment I first saw you. You're beautiful and smart and strong and perfect. And once you get to know me, really know me, you'll feel it too. We're inevitable, Riley. You and me." "I'm 17 years old." "Age is just a number. What matters is connection, understanding. And I understand you better than anyone. I know what you dream about. I know what scares you. I know you better than you know yourself." "You don't know anything about me." Marcus's smile faltered. "Don't say that. Don't invalidate what we have." "We don't have anything." "Yes, we do." His voice hardened. "We have something special, something real. And you're trying to ruin it with your fear and your stubbornness and your—" He stopped, looked around. Riley saw the moment he realized something was wrong, saw the exact second he spotted the undercover officer pretending to take photos nearby. "You brought the police." Marcus's expression didn't change, but his voice went cold. "You set me up. I want you to leave me alone. You're making a mistake, Riley. A huge mistake. I would never hurt you, but you're forcing my hand. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be." He reached for her arm. "Don't touch me," Riley said. He grabbed her anyway, his fingers wrapped around her wrist tight enough to bruise. That was the moment everything exploded. "Phoenix PD, let her go, hands where I can see them." Officers converged from every direction. Marcus spun, still holding Riley's wrist, his face transforming from pleasant to furious in a heartbeat. "Let her go now." Morrison had her weapon drawn, positioned 10 feet away. Marcus looked at Riley. Something in his eyes made her blood run cold. "This isn't over. You think putting me in handcuffs changes anything? I'll find you again. I always find you. We're inevitable, Riley. You can't stop that." Then he let go, put his hands up, and smiled like he'd already won. They arrested him right there in the botanical garden. Assault, stalking, harassment, violation of privacy laws. Detective Morrison read him his rights while he smiled at Riley over his shoulder. "I'll see you soon," he called as they put him in the patrol car. "This is just the beginning." Riley stood there, shaking Morrison's hand on her shoulder. "You did it. You were incredibly brave. We got him." But Riley couldn't shake the feeling that Marcus was right. This wasn't over. Men like him didn't stop just because they got arrested. They adapted. They escalated. They became more dangerous. And Riley had just declared war on someone who'd already proven he was willing to destroy her entire life just to possess her. 3 days later, Marcus Webb was released on bail. Riley heard the news from Detective Morrison at 7 in the morning. The call woke her from the first real sleep she'd had in days. "He made bail." Morrison's voice was tight with frustration. "Judge set it at 50,000. He posted it 3 hours ago. He's out." Riley sat up so fast her head spun. "What do you mean he's out?" "You arrested him. You have him on camera grabbing me. You have—" "I know, and we have a strong case. But bail is bail. His lawyer argued he's not a flight risk, has no prior convictions, and the charges don't warrant holding him without bail." Judge agreed. "So he's just walking around free after everything he did. He has conditions. GPS ankle monitor, can't come within 500 feet of you or your home or your school, can't contact you in any way. If he violates any of those conditions, he goes straight to jail. No bail." 500 feet. Riley's laugh came out harsh, bitter. "That's nothing. That's a parking lot. I know it's not enough, but it's what we have right now. The trial is scheduled for 3 months from now. Until then, we watch him closely, and you stay vigilant." After Morrison hung up, Riley sat in bed staring at nothing. 3 months. 90 days of knowing Marcus was out there, knowing he was thinking about her, planning, waiting for his chance. Her father appeared in the doorway. From his face, she knew he'd heard. "We're leaving Phoenix today. I don't care what the detective says. We're packing up and we're gone. He'll follow us. Not if we're smart about it. Not if we... Dad, he had enough money to post $50,000 in bail. You think he doesn't have enough money to track us across the country, to hire someone to find us, to... Riley stopped, swallowed hard. Running won't work. It just delays the inevitable. So what do you want to do? Just sit here and wait for him to... Riley's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her hands started shaking before she even looked at the screen. Did you really think a GPS monitor would stop me? Oh, Riley, you have so much to learn about how committed I am to us. See you soon. She showed her father. His face went from pale to red in seconds. He grabbed his own phone, called Morrison, read her the message word for word. That's a bail violation, Morrison said. Direct contact. I'm getting a warrant right now. We'll have him back in custody within the hour. But when police went to Marcus's apartment, he wasn't there. The GPS monitor was sitting on his kitchen table, cut off, still transmitting from that location. Marcus Webb was gone. Riley spent that day in a fog of terror so thick she could barely think straight. Morrison put out an APB. Police searched Marcus's apartment and found a wall covered in photos of Riley. Hundreds of them. Some taken from social media. Some taken through her bedroom window. Some taken at school, at the coffee shop, at the track. A timeline of her entire life for the past 3 months. He's been planning this, Morrison said, standing in the apartment surrounded by evidence. This wasn't impulse. This was calculated. Methodical. Where would he go? Carlos demanded. He doesn't have family here, no close friends that we know of. Where? He could be anywhere. Morrison's expression was grim. Could have left the state already. Could be watching us right now from across the street. Men like Marcus, when they run, they're dangerous, unpredictable. Riley barely heard them. She was staring at the wall of photos, seeing herself through Marcus's eyes. Every smile captured, every unguarded moment preserved, every second of her life that he'd stolen and claimed as his own. I want to go home, she whispered. Riley, that's not safe. He knows where you live, and I don't care. I want to go home. I want to sleep in my own bed. I want... Her voice cracked. I just want my life back. But she couldn't have it back. That was the truth no one wanted to say out loud. Marcus had taken something from her that she'd never get back, the feeling of safety in her own skin. That night, Riley and her father stayed in a hotel under fake names. Morrison arranged it, paid cash, told no one where they were. Riley lay in the scratchy hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her father pace in the adjoining room, and wondered how long they could live like this. Days, weeks, years. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it automatically, heart slamming. Emma, everyone at school is talking about what happened. Are you okay? Where are you? Riley typed. I'm fine. Just staying somewhere safe for a while. Emma, this is so scary. I can't believe this happened to you. Is there anything I can do? Riley stared at the message. What could Emma do? What could anyone do? Marcus was out there somewhere, planning, waiting, and all Riley could do was hide and hope the police found him before he found her. She didn't respond to Emma, didn't respond to the dozen other messages from friends asking if she was okay, offering support, promising to help, because they couldn't help. No one could help except the police, and even they seemed powerless against a man who'd spent months learning every detail of her life. 4 days passed. No sign of Marcus. No messages. No sightings. It was somehow worse than when he'd been sending messages constantly. At least then Riley knew where his attention was focused. Now he could be anywhere, doing anything, planning anything. We can't live in a hotel forever, Carlos said on the 5th morning. They were eating continental breakfast in the lobby, stale muffins and watery coffee. I'm burning through savings. You're missing school. We need a plan. The plan is we wait until they catch him. And if they don't catch him, if he's already left Arizona, then I'm still not safe at home. Riley pushed her muffin away. At least here he doesn't know where we are. Riley, I talked to your aunt in San Diego. She said we could stay with her. Different state, different city. We could enroll you in a new school, start over, and... And Marcus would find me within a week. Dad, you're not listening. He's obsessed. He's not going to stop because we change locations. He's going to follow me wherever I go. Carlos looked at his daughter and saw someone who'd aged years in weeks. The bright-eyed 17-year-old who'd talked about college and track scholarships, and her future had been replaced by someone harder, more guarded, carrying weight no teenager should have to carry. I failed you, he said quietly. What? I failed you. I should have believed you the first time you said something felt wrong. I should have taken it seriously. I should have... Dad, stop. You didn't know. None of us knew how bad it would get. That's not good enough. You're my daughter. My job is to protect you. And I didn't. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Mija. I'm so sorry. Riley reached across the table and grabbed his hand. It's not your fault. It's Marcus's fault. Only his. But even as she said it, she wondered if that was true. Everyone had failed her in some way. The school resource officer who'd dismissed her concerns. The police who'd said there was nothing they could do. The judge who'd granted bail. The system that required victims to be harmed before it would intervene. All of them had failed, and now Riley was paying the price. On the 6th day, Morrison called with news. We found his car, abandoned in a long-term parking lot at Sky Harbor Airport. So he flew somewhere. Maybe, or maybe he wants us to think he flew somewhere. We're checking passenger manifests, but he could have used a fake ID, could have driven to another airport, could have taken a bus. We're following every lead. So basically you have no idea where he is. Silence. Then, no, we don't. But we're not stopping. Every law enforcement agency in the Southwest has his photo. Border Patrol has been notified. We will find him, Riley. It's just a matter of time. Time. That word again. How much time did Riley have before Marcus made his move? How many days could she hide before he found her? How long until the inevitable confrontation that had been building since that first day in the library? That afternoon, Riley convinced her father to let her go for a run. She was going stir-crazy in the hotel room, needed to move, needed to feel something other than fear and helplessness. Not alone, Carlos said immediately. I'll go with you. Dad, you hate running. I don't care. You're not going alone. They ran 3 miles through a residential neighborhood Riley didn't recognize. Her father wheezed and struggled to keep up. Riley slowed her pace, let him catch his breath, and felt guilty for dragging him along. But she also felt grateful. Grateful for a father who'd drop everything to protect her. Who'd sleep in hotel rooms and run until his lungs burned and sacrifice everything to keep her safe. When they got back to the hotel, Detective Morrison was waiting in the lobby. Her expression made Riley's stomach drop. What happened? We need to talk. Privately. They went up to the hotel room. Morrison closed the door, looked at Riley, then at Carlos, then back at Riley. We got a hit on Marcus's credit card, gas station in Flagstaff 2 hours ago. Flagstaff? That's nowhere near here. Why would he? He's not running away, Riley. He's circling back. Flagstaff is north of Phoenix. If he's moving south, he's heading back toward the city. Back toward you. The room went silent. Riley felt cold all over. We've got units heading to Flagstaff now, Morrison continued. And I've arranged for you two to move to a safe house. Secure location. Officers on site 24/7. You'll stay there until we catch him. A safe house, Carlos frowned. For how long? However long it takes. Could be days. Could be weeks. I can't miss weeks of school, Riley said. I'm a senior. I have college applications. You have a stalker who cut off his GPS monitor and is actively hunting you, Morrison said bluntly. School doesn't matter if you're dead. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Dead. No one had said it out loud before. Everyone had danced around it, used euphemisms like unsafe or at risk. But Morrison had just said what they were all thinking. Marcus didn't just want to talk to Riley. He wanted to possess her. And if he couldn't have her, there was a very real chance he'd make sure no one else could either. Okay, Riley whispered. Okay, the safe house. When do we leave? Now. They packed in 10 minutes, threw everything into duffel bags, checked out under fake names, followed Morrison to an unmarked car. Riley watched Phoenix blur past the windows and wondered if she'd ever feel safe again. Wondered if Marcus was watching right now, following from a distance, planning his next move. The safe house turned out to be a small ranch home in Scottsdale, surrounded by a high fence and security cameras. 2 officers were stationed outside, 2 more inside. Morrison walked them through the security protocol. No leaving without an escort, no posting on social media, no telling anyone where they were. "What about school?" Riley asked. "My friends keep texting. They're worried. If I just disappear completely." "Tell them you're visiting family out of state. Nothing specific, nothing that could give away your location." Riley nodded, but didn't feel better. She was being erased, hidden, disappeared. And Marcus was still out there free hunting. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay in the unfamiliar bed in the unfamiliar room and listened to officers talking quietly in the hallway. Her phone sat on the nightstand silent. No messages from Marcus, no threats, no contact. Somehow that was worse. The silence felt like a held breath before a scream. At 2 in the morning, her phone buzzed. Riley grabbed it so fast she nearly dropped it. Unknown number, nice. Safe house. Very secure. But you can't hide forever, Riley. I'm patient. I can wait. And when you finally come out, I'll be there. Waiting. Always waiting. Riley screamed. Couldn't help it. The sound ripped out of her throat before she could stop it. Her father burst through the door, followed by 2 officers with guns drawn. "He knows." Riley's voice shook. "He knows where we are. He sent me a message. He knows." Morrison arrived 30 minutes later. She read the message, her jaw so tight Riley could hear her teeth grinding. "He's bluffing. Has to be. No one knows this location except me and the officers on duty. He's just trying to scare you." "It's working." "Riley, listen to me. Marcus is smart, but he's not omniscient. He doesn't have access to police databases. He doesn't know where you are. He's guessing, throwing out bait to see if you'll panic and make a mistake." "What if you're wrong?" Morrison didn't answer, because she couldn't promise Riley was safe. No one could. They'd done everything right, followed protocol, used secure locations, kept information locked down, and Marcus was still finding ways to reach her, still making her feel like a mouse being toyed with by a cat who was enjoying the game too much to end it quickly. The next morning, Riley woke to voices arguing in the living room. She crept to the door, listened. Can't keep her locked up indefinitely. That was her father's voice, strained. She's missing school. Her friends are asking questions. Her entire life is on hold, and for what? We don't even know where this guy is. "We're doing everything we can, Mr. Martinez." Morrison sounded exhausted. "We have every available resource on this case, but Marcus Webb is smart. He's planned for this. He's covering his tracks. So what? We just wait here until he gets bored and moves on to some other poor girl." He's not going to move on. Men like Marcus, they fixate, they obsess. The object of their obsession becomes their entire world. He's not going to stop until he's arrested or what, say it, or until he kills my daughter. Silence. Then Morrison. "We're not going to let that happen." "You can't promise that." "No, I can't. But I can promise that I will do everything in my power to keep Riley safe and put Marcus Webb behind bars for the rest of his life." Riley pushed open the door. Both adults turned startled. "I want to help," Riley said. "Riley, you should be resting. I want to help catch him. I'm tired of hiding, tired of being scared, tired of letting him control my life. Tell me what I can do." Morrison and Carlos exchanged looks. Then Morrison nodded slowly. "There might be something. It's risky. But if you're willing, I'm willing. We set another trap, but this time we don't use you as bait. We use your digital footprint. We create a fake social media post that makes Marcus think you're vulnerable. Maybe you're hiking alone. Maybe you're at a specific location at a specific time. We make it look real, but it's completely controlled. Officers everywhere, cameras everywhere. And when he shows up, because he will show up, we grab him. That's too dangerous, Carlos said immediately. You're using my daughter to... I'm using Riley's Instagram account to lure a predator into a trap. Riley herself will be nowhere near the location. She'll be here safe while we handle Marcus. Riley felt something loosen in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or just the relief of doing something instead of waiting passively for disaster. Let's do it. It took 2 days to set up. Morrison's team created a fake Instagram post from Riley's account, a photo from 6 months ago, location tagged at Camelback Mountain, caption about hiking alone to clear her head. They posted it at 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning and waited. Marcus took the bait within an hour. A fake account, brand new, no followers, no posts, liked the photo. Then another fake account commented, "Be careful out there alone. Dangerous things happen on those trails." "That's him," Morrison said, watching from the safe house. "Has to be. No one else would comment something that threatening." At Camelback Mountain, 20 undercover officers waited, dressed as hikers, tourists, trail maintenance, all armed, all watching, all ready. Riley watched from the safe house on Morrison's laptop live feed from body cameras and surveillance positions. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This had to work. It had to. 2 hours passed. Hikers came and went, normal people on a normal Wednesday, no sign of Marcus. "Maybe he's not coming," Riley whispered. "He's coming," Morrison said. "He's just being careful, watching, making sure it's not a trap." 3 hours. 4. Riley's nerves stretched so tight she thought she might scream. Then on one of the camera feeds, movement. A man in a gray hoodie walking up the trail, moving fast. "Contact," one officer murmured into his radio. Gray hoodie approaching from the south trailhead. The cameras tracked him. Riley leaned closer to the screen, trying to see his face. Was it Marcus or just some random hiker who happened to wear gray? The man stopped at a lookout point, pulled out his phone, stood there for 10 minutes just waiting, watching the trail. "That's him," Morrison said. "That's Marcus." "How do you know?" "Body language. He's not here to hike. He's here to hunt." Riley watched Marcus stand there, completely unaware that he was surrounded by police. She felt a surge of something dark and satisfying. You're caught. You just don't know it yet. But Marcus didn't move toward where Riley supposedly was. He just stood there watching, waiting. Smart enough to know something felt wrong. Smart enough not to rush in. After 20 minutes, he turned and started walking back down the trail, moving fast, almost running. "He's running," Riley shouted at the screen. "Don't let him get away." "All units move in," Morrison ordered into her radio. "Converge on gray hoodie suspect. Do not let him reach the parking lot." Officers closed in from every direction. Marcus saw them coming, tried to run, made it maybe 30 feet before 2 officers tackled him to the ground. Riley watched it happen on the body camera feed, Marcus struggling, screaming, fighting, even though he was outmatched and outnumbered. "You can't do this." Marcus's voice came through the laptop speakers, distorted but recognizable. "I didn't do anything. I was just hiking. This is harassment. This is..." "Marcus Webb, you're under arrest for violation of bail conditions, stalking, and criminal threatening. You have the right to remain silent." They cuffed him, read him his rights, dragged him down the mountain while he screamed about false arrest and police brutality and how Riley was going to pay for this. Riley watched until he disappeared from the camera feeds. Then she collapsed onto the couch, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. It was over. Finally over. Marcus was caught. He'd violated bail. He'd be held without bail this time. He couldn't hurt her anymore. "You did it," her father said, pulling her into a hug. "It's over, mija. You're safe now." But Riley couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Marcus had seemed too confident, too calm beneath the anger, like he'd expected to get caught, like he'd wanted to get caught. That night, Morrison called with news that made Riley's blood run cold. "Marcus's lawyer is arguing entrapment, says we lured him to that location using fake social media posts. Says his client had no intention of harming Riley, was just hiking, and we manufactured evidence against him." "That's insane." We have him on camera violating his bail conditions by being within 500 feet of where he thought Riley was. His lawyer is arguing he didn't know Riley was supposedly there. Says Marcus doesn't use Instagram, never saw the post, was just hiking a popular trail and got arrested for no reason. That's a lie. He commented on my post. We have the fake account that can't be traced back to him. Burner email used on public Wi-Fi. No way to prove Marcus created it or used it. His lawyer is good Riley. Really good. And he's tearing our case apart. So what does that mean? Silence. Then it means Marcus might make bail again. It means we might be back to square one. Riley hung up and stared at nothing. She'd thought it was over. Thought she'd won. But Marcus was still fighting, still manipulating, still finding ways to reach her, even from behind bars. 2 days later, Marcus Webb made bail for the second time. His lawyer had argued successfully that the evidence against him was circumstantial, that his client was being targeted by overzealous law enforcement, that Marcus had never actually harmed anyone and didn't deserve to be held without bail. The judge agreed. Set bail at $100,000 this time. Marcus's family posted it within an hour. He walked out of jail wearing the same gray hoodie, the same pleasant smile, and the first thing he did was look directly at the news camera outside the courthouse and say, "I forgive Riley Martinez for what she's done to me. I understand she's scared and confused, but I want her to know that I'm not angry. I'm not going to retaliate. I just want to talk. That's all I've ever wanted. And eventually Riley will realize that we're meant to be together. It's inevitable." Riley watched the news footage from the safe house and knew with absolute certainty that Marcus Webb was never going to stop. Not until one of them was dead. Riley's father made the call that changed everything at 3 a.m. She woke to his voice in the next room, low and urgent, talking to someone about protection and options and desperation. When she walked in, he hung up fast. Who was that? Carlos looked at his daughter standing in the doorway in her track team sweatshirt, 17 years old and carrying more fear than anyone should have to carry. Someone who might be able to help. "Dad, what did you do?" "What I should have done weeks ago." He rubbed his face. "I called a friend from the service. Guy I served with in Iraq. He knows people. Different kind of people. People who handle situations when the law can't." Riley's stomach dropped. "What kind of people?" "The kind who don't let predators walk free on bail twice. The kind who—" "No." Riley's voice came out sharp. "Absolutely not. We're not doing something illegal. We're not—" "He's out there, Riley, right now, free, planning, and the law keeps letting him go. The system keeps failing you. How many more times do we wait for them to catch him? How many more times does he get to make bail and come after you? So your solution is what vigilante justice hired muscle dad think about what you're saying. I am thinking. I'm thinking about my daughter who can't sleep, can't go to school, can't live her life because some maniac has decided she belongs to him. I'm thinking about how I'm supposed to protect you when the law won't." They stared at each other across the safe house living room. Then Riley's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she looked at the screen. "Your father's making calls." "I know. I know everything, Riley. Every move you make. Every person you talk to. You can't hide from me. You can't fight me. The sooner you accept that we're inevitable, the easier this will be for everyone." Riley showed her father. His face went dark with rage. "That's it. I'm making the call. Dad, please. If you do this, if you go outside the law, you'll end up in prison, and I'll be alone anyway. We have to trust Detective Morrison. We have to trust her. Riley, she's been trying for a month and Marcus keeps walking. I'm done trusting. I'm done waiting. I'm done watching my daughter disappear." Before Riley could argue more, headlights swept across the window. A car pulled into the driveway. Not a police vehicle. Not Morrison's unmarked sedan. Something else. Something that made the officers stationed outside move to alert positions. Carlos went to the window. "That's my friend." "What friend, Dad? What did you do?" The doorbell rang. One of the officers answered it, hand on his weapon. The man who walked in was maybe 50, leather jacket, graying beard presence that filled the room like gravity. Not threatening exactly, but solid, immovable. "Jack Rivera," he said, offering his hand to the officer. "I'm a friend of Carlos Martinez. He asked me to stop by." The officer looked at Carlos, who nodded. "It's okay. He's good people." Jack sat down on the couch across from Riley. Up close, his eyes were kind, despite the hard edge to his features. "Carlos tells me you're having some trouble." "That's putting it mildly," Riley said. "Man's stalking you. Law keeps letting him go. You're scared, angry, feel like the system's failed you." Jack's voice was matter-of-fact. "You're not wrong. And you think you can help how I run a motorcycle club, Iron Phoenix MC. We're not outlaws, not criminals, but we handle situations that fall through the cracks. Women being stalked, kids in danger, people the system can't or won't protect. Like vigilantes. Like concerned citizens who aren't afraid to stand between predators and prey." Jack leaned forward. "Here's what I know about men like Marcus Webb. They're cowards. They target vulnerable people because they know they can. They hide behind the law when it suits them. But they're not brave. They're not strong. They fold when confronted by people who won't back down." "Marcus isn't going to fold," Riley said. "He's obsessed. I know. Carlos sent me everything. The messages, the photos from his apartment, the court records. I've seen guys like Marcus before. They don't stop on their own." Jack paused. "But they do stop when they realize their target isn't alone. When they realize there are people watching them the way they've been watching you." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we protect you, legal, visible. We make sure Marcus knows that if he comes near you, he's not dealing with a scared girl anymore. He's dealing with 12 bikers who won't hesitate to put him in the hospital if he makes a move." Carlos spoke up. "Morrison can't guarantee Riley's safety. The law can't guarantee it, but Jack can. His people can." Riley looked between her father and this stranger who was offering to upend Marcus's plans through sheer intimidation. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. Part of her knew it could go terribly wrong. "What if he doesn't care?" Riley asked. "What if seeing you guys protecting me just makes him angrier, makes him more desperate?" "Then he makes a mistake," Jack said simply. "And when he does, we'll be there. Not to hurt him unless we have to, but to catch him doing something that'll put him away for good." Detective Morrison arrived 20 minutes later, called by the officers who were suspicious about Jack's late-night visit. She listened to the proposal with increasing frustration written across her face. "You cannot take the law into your own hands," Morrison said flatly. "I understand your frustration, Mr. Martinez. I understand Riley's fear, but this is not how we handle it." "How do we handle it?" Carlos shot back. "Because your way keeps putting him back on the street. My way is building a case that will put him in prison for years, but that takes time. Evidence. Due process." "Due process?" Carlos's voice rose. "My daughter doesn't have time. Every day Marcus is free is another day she's in danger. I know, and I'm working around the clock to... It's not enough." The room went silent. Riley watched her father's chest heaving, watched Morrison's jaw tighten, watched Jack sit quietly observing both of them. Two different types of help, two different philosophies, both ultimately trying to protect her. "What if they work together?" Riley said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "What if the motorcycle club provides visible protection while Detective Morrison builds her case? They're not doing anything illegal if they're just escorting me places, right? Making sure I'm not alone." Morrison considered this. As long as they don't interfere with the investigation or take any action that could be considered harassment or assault, then no, technically there's nothing illegal about providing security. "And if Marcus sees that Riley's protected," Jack added, "he might get reckless, might make the mistake Detective Morrison needs to arrest him for good." Morrison didn't look happy, but she nodded slowly. "Fine, but the second anyone in your club steps over the line, I'm arresting all of you." "Clear was crystal," Jack said. That's how Riley Martinez ended up with a motorcycle escort to school the next morning. 12 bikers in formation surrounding her father's truck on all sides. Students stared as they pulled into the parking lot. Teachers came out to watch. The principal called security. It was a spectacle loud and impossible to ignore. which was exactly the point. Riley walked into school flanked by Jack and a woman named Sarah, who wore a leather vest with VP patches. Sarah's eyes swept the hallways, constantly cataloging faces looking for threats. Jack walked with his hands loose at his sides, ready for anything. "This is crazy," Riley muttered as students whispered and pointed. "This is protection," Sarah corrected, "and Marcus will know about it within the hour. Trust me." She was right. By lunch, Riley had 17 messages from friends asking what was going on. Why she had biker bodyguards? Was she in danger? Was this about the stalker everyone had heard about? Riley didn't respond to any of them, just sat in the cafeteria with Jack and Sarah at the next table, over feeling weirdly safe for the first time in weeks. Then Emma approached, hesitant. "Riley, can we talk?" Riley nodded. Emma sat down, glancing nervously at the bikers. "Everyone's freaking out. People are saying you're in witness protection, or you joined a gang, or—" "I'm being stalked," Riley said bluntly. "Have been for over a month. The guy keeps making bail. These people are helping protect me." Emma's face went pale. "Oh my God, is that why you disappeared? Why you've been so weird?" "Yeah." "Why didn't you tell me I'm your friend? I could have what him? The police can't stop him. What were you going to do?" Emma flinched. "I don't know, something, anything. You shouldn't have to go through this alone." "I'm not alone anymore." Riley glanced at Jack and Sarah. "That's kind of the problem Marcus is about to have." The message came during 5th period. Riley's phone buzzed in her backpack. She ignored it until the teacher looked away, then checked quickly. "Bikers, really? Riley, you think that's going to stop me? All you've done is make this more interesting. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of anything when it comes to us. See you soon." Riley showed Jack after class. He read it, his expression hardening. "He's watching the school. Has to be. How else would he know about us?" "He's always watching," Riley said tiredly. "That's what he does." Sarah was already on her phone calling the other club members. "We need eyes on every entrance, every parking lot. If Marcus is surveilling the school, I want to know where he's positioned." Within minutes, Iron Phoenix members were spread throughout the area surrounding Lincoln High. They found Marcus's car 30 minutes later parked on a residential street with clear sightline to the student parking lot. Empty. He'd been there but had left recently. "He's escalating," Jack said when Morrison arrived. "Getting bolder. The fact that he's this close to the school with an active restraining order shows he's not thinking rationally anymore." "Or he's thinking very rationally," Morrison countered. "He parks just far enough away that he can claim he wasn't technically violating the restraining order. Watches from a distance. Never gets close enough to be arrested. It's calculated." "So what do? We tighten the net. I'm assigning 2 plainclothes officers to Riley full-time. They'll coordinate with your club. We create a perimeter. Marcus can't penetrate without being seen." But Marcus was always one step ahead. That night, Riley's best friend Emma got a message from an unknown number. She showed Riley the next morning, hands shaking. "Tell Riley I'm not angry about the bikers. Tell her I admire her resourcefulness. But also tell her that every person she brings into this becomes a potential target. Her father, her friends, those bikers who think they're protecting her. Everyone she loves is now part of our story. She needs to think about that." Riley felt sick reading it. "He's threatening you. He's threatening everyone around me." "I'm not scared of him," Emma said, but her voice shook. "I'm not going to let some creep intimidate me into abandoning my friend." "Em, you don't understand. Marcus is dangerous. If he thinks hurting you will get to me, then let him try. I've got 2 older brothers and a dad who's an MMA instructor. I'm not helpless." But Riley knew Marcus didn't care about who was helpless and who wasn't. He cared about possession, control. And now he was expanding his campaign to everyone in Riley's life. Jake Ferguson, the boy Riley had talked to in the parking lot weeks ago, got slashed tires and a note on his windshield. "Stay away from what's mine." Ms. Chen, the school counselor who'd helped Riley, found her office. Vandalized files, scattered a message, spray-painted on her wall. "She doesn't need you. She needs me." Each incident was reported. Each one investigated. None of them could be definitively tied to Marcus. He was everywhere and nowhere, a ghost who left chaos in his wake while maintaining plausible deniability. "He's trying to isolate you," Sarah said after the 5th incident in 3 days. Make everyone around you too scared to help. It's textbook abuser behavior. It's working. Riley's voice was hollow. Jake won't even look at me anymore. Emma's parents are talking about pulling her out of school until this is over. I'm toxic. Everyone I care about gets hurt. That's what he wants you to think. Jack crouched down to Riley's eye level. She was sitting on the curb outside school, waiting for her father, feeling like she was drowning. He wants you isolated, alone, easier to manipulate. But you know what? We're not going anywhere. My people, we've all been through some version of this. We know how it works, and we're not scared of Marcus Webb. You should be. Everyone should be. Fear is what he's counting on. Fear is how he wins. Jack stood. I lost my daughter to a man like Marcus, not physically, thank God, but he broke something in her that took years to fix. I made a promise the day she finally got free that I'd never let it happen to someone else if I could help it. So no, Riley, we're not going anywhere. That night, Marcus made his boldest move yet. He posted on social media a long, rambling statement about love and destiny and how society didn't understand deep connections. He tagged Riley in it, tagged her school, tagged Detective Morrison, tagged the news outlets that had been covering the story. Riley Martinez is the love of my life. She doesn't see it yet because she's been manipulated by people who claim to care about her, but really just want to control her. Her father. The police. Those bikers who are harassing me. They're all lying to her, telling her I'm dangerous, when all I've ever done is love her. Riley, if you're reading this, please, just talk to me. 5 minutes. That's all I ask. 5 minutes alone, and you'll understand everything. We're meant to be together. Everyone can see it except you. Stop fighting what's inevitable. The post went viral. National news picked it up. Suddenly, Riley's face was everywhere. Her story dissected by armchair psychologists and true crime podcasts and social media warriors who had opinions about everything and understanding of nothing. We need to respond, Carlos said, reading through the hundreds of comments. No, Morrison said firmly. Responding gives him what he wants. Attention, engagement. We ignore it. Ignoring it makes it look like he's right, like we're controlling Riley. Responding makes it look like we're threatened by him. Morrison's phone was ringing constantly. The best thing we can do is let this blow over while we build our case. But it didn't blow over. Marcus's post generated sympathy from people who bought his narrative. A Free Marcus Facebook group formed with 3,000 members. People sent Riley hate messages calling her cruel, manipulative, a liar, destroying an innocent man's life. Riley stopped looking at social media entirely, deleted the apps from her phone. But she couldn't delete the feeling that Marcus was winning. He'd turned her into a public spectacle, had people questioning her story, had successfully painted himself as a victim of overzealous prosecution. How is this happening? Riley asked Jack one afternoon. They were at the Iron Phoenix clubhouse, the safest place she knew. How is he making people feel sorry for him? Because predators are good at playing victim, Jack said. They manipulate narratives. They charm people. They make themselves look sympathetic while making their targets look unstable. Sarah added, I've seen it 100 times. Abusers who convince everyone they're the real victim, who gaslight their targets so effectively that even people who should know better start questioning reality. So what do I do? You survive, Jack said simply. You keep going. You don't let him break you, because that's what he's trying to do. Break you down until you're so exhausted and isolated that you give in just to make it stop. Riley thought about giving in. She wouldn't admit it to anyone, but late at night, lying in bed at the safe house, she thought about what would happen if she just met with Marcus. 5 minutes like he asked. Let him say whatever he needed to say. Maybe then he'd leave her alone. Maybe then this nightmare would end. But she knew better. Men like Marcus didn't stop after 5 minutes. 5 minutes would become 10. 10 would become an hour. And eventually, Riley would disappear entirely into his obsession, lost in a relationship built on fear and control. 2 weeks after the social media post, Detective Morrison called with news. We got him. Riley's heart stopped. What? Marcus violated parole. He was supposed to wear a GPS monitor, but he removed it again. We have evidence he's been within 300 feet of your school at least 7 times in the past week. We have testimony from witnesses who saw him following you. We have the threatening messages to Emma. We have everything. So you're arresting him. Already did, 2 hours ago. He's in custody. And this time the prosecutor is charging him with aggravated stalking, criminal threatening harassment violation of protective orders, and about 6 other charges. Bail hearing is tomorrow. The prosecutor is pushing for him to be held without bail until trial. Riley couldn't breathe. Is this real? Is it actually over? The arrest is real. Whether he makes bail tomorrow depends on the judge. But Riley, I'm cautiously optimistic. We have a strong case now. Multiple violations, multiple witnesses, pattern of behavior that shows escalation. It's going to be very hard for his lawyer to argue he should be released. That night, Riley slept better than she had in weeks. Jack and the Iron Phoenix Club stayed at the safe house anyway, just in case. But for the first time, Riley felt something close to hope. The bail hearing the next day was packed. Riley sat between her father and Detective Morrison, watching Marcus in his orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, looking smaller somehow. Less threatening. Just a man who'd let obsession consume him until there was nothing else left. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. Evidence of repeated violations, pattern of escalating behavior, risk to public safety, threat to the victim and everyone associated with her. They recommended Marcus be held without bail as a danger to the community. Marcus's lawyer argued that his client was innocent of the new charges, that the GPS evidence was faulty, that the witness testimony was coordinated by the motorcycle club who had a vendetta against his client, that this was all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by overzealous law enforcement. The judge listened to both sides, looked at the evidence, looked at Marcus, then spoke. Mr. Webb, you've been before this court twice now. Both times you made bail, and both times you violated the conditions of that bail. You've demonstrated a complete disregard for the law and for the safety of the victim in this case. You've shown a pattern of obsessive behavior that has escalated from harassment to what I consider a credible threat of violence. Riley held her breath. Bail is denied. You will remain in custody until your trial date. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Marcus's lawyer immediately started arguing for reconsideration. Marcus himself turned in his seat, eyes finding Riley across the courtroom. He smiled. That same pleasant smile that had haunted her nightmares for weeks. Then he mouthed 2 words, "Not over." Riley felt her father's hand grip hers tight. Jack was directly behind them, solid and unmovable. Morrison was already on her phone, probably coordinating security. Everyone around Riley sprang into protection mode, but Riley just stared at Marcus as the bailiffs led him away. He was going to jail. He couldn't hurt her now. The system had finally worked. So why did she still feel like prey? Outside the courthouse, Jack pulled Riley aside. That look he gave you, the words he mouthed. He's not done fighting. He's in jail. What can he do from jail? I don't know. But men like Marcus, they don't give up. They adapt. They find new ways to maintain control, even from behind bars. Jack's expression was grim. You need to stay vigilant. This isn't over until the trial's done and he's convicted. The trial is 3 months away. Then we protect you for 3 months, however long it takes. Riley wanted to argue, wanted to say she'd be fine, that Marcus couldn't reach her from jail, that her life could go back to normal now. But normal felt like a foreign concept, something she'd lost the day Marcus first walked up to her in the library. That night, Riley tried to sleep in her own bed for the first time in weeks. Her father was home. The doors were locked. Marcus was in jail. She should have felt safe. But at 2 a.m, her phone buzzed. She grabbed it automatically, heart already racing before she even looked. Unknown number. Did you really think jail would stop me? Oh, Riley, you have so much to learn about how far love can reach. Even through bars, even across distance. I'm still here, still thinking about you, still planning our future. 3 months until trial. 3 months to show you that nothing can keep us apart. Not jail, not bikers, not your father or police or anyone. We're inevitable. Sweet dreams, my love. Riley screamed. Her father was in her room within seconds, followed by Jack, who'd been sleeping on the couch downstairs. Riley showed them the message, hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone. How? Carlos's voice came out strangled. He's in jail. He doesn't have access to phones. How is he still messaging her? Jack took the phone, read the message twice. Someone on the outside, has to be. Someone helping him. Who? Marcus doesn't have friends here. He moved to Phoenix alone. Doesn't matter who. What matters is, he's still got reach. Jack was already calling Detective Morrison. This changes everything. Morrison arrived 40 minutes later, technical specialist in tow. They traced the message to another burner phone purchased 3 hours earlier at a convenience store in Tempe. Security footage showed a woman mid-20s, blonde hair, sunglasses. No clear face shot, no way to identify her. He recruited someone, Morrison said, watching the footage for the third time. Probably online. Could be someone who read his social media posts, bought into his victim narrative. Could be someone he's been grooming for weeks. So now we have 2 people to worry about, Riley's voice cracked. Marcus and whoever this woman is. We'll find her. But yes, this complicates things. Morrison looked at Riley. I need you to understand something. Marcus is in custody, but he's not powerless. Men like him, they're manipulative, charismatic. They can convince people to do things for them, even from jail. What kind of things? Morrison hesitated. Anything. Surveillance, message delivery, even violence if they're persuasive enough. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Riley felt the small bit of safety she'd regained over the past 24 hours evaporate completely. She wasn't free. Marcus was still hunting her, just using different methods now. We need to move, Jack said. This safe house location is compromised. If his accomplice knows Riley's phone number, she probably knows other things too. They packed in 20 minutes, left before dawn. Moved to a new location, Morrison had arranged a small apartment above a veterinary clinic on the outskirts of Scottsdale. 2 Iron Phoenix members stationed outside at all times. Plainclothes officers rotating shifts. Security cameras covering every entrance. Riley felt like she was living in a bunker. Again. She'd thought Marcus being arrested would give her life back. Instead, it just changed the shape of her cage. School became impossible. Riley tried going back but couldn't concentrate, jumped at every sound, saw threats in every face. Her teachers were sympathetic but concerned. Her grades were plummeting. Her college applications sat unfinished. Everything she'd worked for was crumbling while Marcus pulled strings from a jail cell. I can't do this anymore, Riley told her father 1 week after the message. I can't live like this, hiding, scared, waiting for the next message or the next threat or whatever Marcus has planned. What choice do we have? I don't know. But this isn't living. This is just surviving. And barely. Emma called that afternoon crying. Riley, someone's been following me. A woman, blonde. She's been at my house at my school. She tried to talk to me today, said she had a message from someone who cares about you. Riley's blood went cold. What did she say? I didn't let her talk. I ran, called my dad. He called the police. But Riley, she knows where I live. She knows my schedule. Emma's voice broke. I'm scared, not just for me, for you. What if Marcus sent her to hurt you through me? Em, listen to me. Stay away from school. Stay home. Tell your parents everything. Don't go anywhere alone. I can't live like this either, Riley. None of us can. You have to end this. You have to. To what? How do I end this? He's in jail and he's still reaching me. Silence. Then Emma said quietly, maybe you should talk to him. Maybe if you just give him what he wants. No. Riley's voice went hard. Don't say that. Don't ever say that. I'm just saying maybe if you meet with him once, let him say whatever he needs to say, he'll finally leave you alone. Leave all of us alone. That's what he wants everyone to think. That I'm being unreasonable. That 5 minutes of conversation would fix everything. But it won't. It'll just give him more power. More control. Then what's the solution? Because right now he's winning. Riley hung up and threw her phone across the room. Emma was right. Marcus was winning. Even from jail, he was destroying Riley's life and the lives of everyone around her. And the worst part was, Riley had no idea how to fight back. Jack found her sitting on the floor back against the wall, staring at nothing. He sat down next to her without speaking. Just sat there, solid and present, until Riley finally broke the silence. "Tell me about your daughter." Jack was quiet for a long moment. "Her name's Melissa. She was 17 when it started. Guy named Troy, mid-30s, worked at the gym where she trained. Started friendly, compliments, encouragement. Then it shifted. Comments about her body, suggestions they meet up outside the gym, messages that got more and more inappropriate. What did she do? What you did. Told her mom and me. We went to the gym management. They fired Troy. We thought it was over." Jack's jaw tightened. But Troy didn't see it that way. He blamed Melissa for getting him fired. Started stalking her, following her, sending messages about how she'd ruined his life and owed him. "Did you go to the police?" "Of course. Filed reports, got a restraining order, did everything by the book." Jack's hands clenched. Troy violated that restraining order 6 times before anything happened. 6 times. Each time police would pick him up, he'd spend a night in jail post-bail the next morning. The system kept failing us. Riley knew what was coming. What happened? Troy cornered her in a parking lot, tried to drag her into his car. Melissa fought, screamed. Someone heard and called police. Troy ran. They caught him 3 blocks away. Jack's voice went hollow. "My daughter was 17 years old and a grown man tried to kidnap her in broad daylight. And you know what the worst part was? Troy's lawyer argued it was a misunderstanding, that Troy just wanted to talk and Melissa overreacted." "Did he go to prison?" "Eventually. Took a trial and 8 months of appeals. But yeah, he's serving 12 years now. Melissa's 23, in therapy, doing better. But she's not the same kid she was before Troy decided she belonged to him." Riley looked at Jack, understanding now why he'd answered her father's call at 3 in the morning. Why he'd brought his entire club to protect a girl he'd never met. "That's why you do this. I couldn't save my daughter from going through hell, but I can help others, can stand between them and men like Troy, like Marcus." Jack met her eyes. "You're going to survive this, Riley. Not just survive. You're going to come out the other side stronger. I've seen it happen." "I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Broken things heal. Sometimes they heal stronger than they were before." That night, Riley wrote out everything she wanted to say to Marcus. Every bit of rage and fear and exhaustion. She filled 8 pages with words she'd never send, never speak, but needed to get out of her head. When she finished, she felt lighter. Not healed, but lighter. The next morning, Detective Morrison called with news that made Riley's stomach drop. Marcus is claiming he's being harassed in jail. Says other inmates are threatening him. Guards are treating him unfairly. His lawyer is filing motions about conditions of confinement. So he's building a narrative, painting himself as a victim again. And there's something else. Morrison paused. "We tracked down the woman from the security footage. Her name is Vanessa Pierce. 26 years old, lives in Tempe. Works as a dental hygienist." "How did Marcus find her?" "Online forum for men who claim they're falsely accused of stalking." Marcus posted his story. Vanessa responded, said she believed him, said she wanted to help. They've been communicating through the forum's messaging system for 2 weeks. "Can you arrest her?" "For what? Sending a message isn't illegal. Following Emma isn't illegal unless she makes threats or physical contact. Vanessa's been careful to stay just barely on the legal side of things. Just like Marcus. Exactly like Marcus, which tells me he's coaching her, telling her exactly how to harass you without getting arrested." Riley felt sick. "So we just wait for her to cross the line, wait for her to actually hurt someone. We're monitoring her, following her, documenting everything. But yes, until she does something actionable, our hands are tied." Riley hung up and looked at her father, who'd heard every word. "I want to testify at the trial. I want to stand up in front of a judge and jury and tell them exactly what Marcus did to me." "Riley, the prosecutor, will decide." "I don't care what the prosecutor decides. I'm the victim. This is my story, and I'm going to tell it." Carlos pulled her into a hug. Okay, mija. We'll tell the prosecutor you want to testify. The trial date was set for 8 weeks out. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Janet Reeves, met with Riley to prepare her testimony. I need you to understand what you're agreeing to. Marcus's lawyer will cross-examine you. He'll try to make you look unreliable, dramatic, attention-seeking. He'll twist your words and question your motives. It's going to be brutal. I don't care. You say that now. But when you're on that stand facing Marcus, having your entire life picked apart by a defense attorney trying to discredit you, I don't care. Riley's voice was steel. Marcus took months of my life, made me afraid to go to school, to sleep in my own bed, to live normally. I'm not letting him take anything else. I'm standing up and telling the truth. Whatever his lawyer throws at me, I can handle it. Janet studied Riley's face, then nodded. Okay, then let's get you ready. Over the next 6 weeks, Riley prepared. She practiced her testimony, reviewed evidence, relived every terrifying moment of Marcus's stalking campaign. It was exhausting and re-traumatizing and necessary, because Riley was done being a victim. She was going to be a survivor who fought back. But Marcus wasn't done fighting either. 3 weeks before trial, Riley's phone buzzed with a video message. She almost didn't open it, almost deleted it immediately. But something made her look. The video showed Emma walking to her car after school. Vanessa was following her, staying 20 feet back, filming the whole thing. Emma was completely unaware. The video was captioned, "Tell Riley she can't protect everyone. Tell her some of us are willing to sacrifice anything for love." Riley showed Jack and Morrison immediately. Both their faces went dark. "That's a threat," Morrison said. Implied but clear. Vanessa just moved from harassment to threatening behavior. "Can you arrest her now?" "I'm getting a warrant right now." Vanessa Pierce was arrested 4 hours later at her apartment. She didn't resist. Didn't seem surprised. Just smiled at the officers and said, "Marcus was right. You people will never understand true love." They found a laptop in her apartment with hundreds of messages between her and Marcus. Plans for how to harass Riley. Surveillance schedules. Photos of Emma, of Riley's father, of Jack, and the Iron Phoenix members. Vanessa had been documenting everyone in Riley's life, cataloging vulnerabilities, reporting back to Marcus about everything. She was obsessed with him, Morrison explained after interviewing Vanessa for 3 hours. Believed Marcus's story completely. Thought she was helping rescue him from false accusations. She saw herself as his partner, his ally against the world. What happens to her now? She's charged with stalking, criminal harassment, and conspiracy. She'll likely plead out, get probation, maybe minimal jail time. Her lawyer's already arguing she was manipulated by Marcus. Was she? Morrison considered. Yes and no. Marcus definitely manipulated her. But Vanessa made choices. She chose to follow Emma, chose to send threatening messages, chose to help Marcus terrorize you. At some point, being manipulated stops being an excuse. With Vanessa in custody, Riley felt marginally safer. But Marcus had proven he could recruit people even from jail. Who else might be out there believing his lies, willing to act on his behalf? The trial started on a cold morning in February. Riley walked into the courthouse flanked by her father, Jack, Sarah, and Detective Morrison. Media crews lined the entrance. Marcus's case had attracted national attention. True crime shows had covered it. Social media was divided between people who supported Riley and people who believed Marcus's victim narrative. Riley ignored all of it, walked through the crowds with her head up, refusing to show fear. She was done hiding. The courtroom was packed. Riley sat in the front row behind the prosecutor's table. Across the aisle, Marcus sat with his lawyer wearing a suit that made him look professional and harmless. When he saw Riley, he smiled. That same pleasant smile. Like they were old friends reuniting. Riley didn't smile back. The trial lasted 3 days. The prosecutor presented overwhelming evidence. Messages, photos from Marcus's apartment, testimony from Detective Morrison, testimony from Emma about Vanessa's harassment, GPS records showing Marcus repeatedly violating his restraining order, Video from the botanical garden showing Marcus grabbing Riley's wrist. Marcus's lawyer fought back hard. Argued entrapment. Suggested Riley had encouraged Marcus's attention, then changed her mind. Implied Riley was mentally unstable, seeking attention, exaggerating threats. He called character witnesses who said Marcus was kind, generous, incapable of violence. On the third day, Riley took the stand. The prosecutor led her through her testimony. Riley told her story clearly, directly, without embellishment. The library, the messages, the man outside her window, the constant fear, the way Marcus had systematically destroyed her sense of safety. Then Marcus's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Miss Martinez, isn't it true you posted frequently on social media? Yes. Public accounts, where anyone could see what you posted. Some were public. So when Marcus looked at your posts, he was simply viewing content you'd made publicly available, correct? He wasn't just looking. He was studying me, learning my schedule, using information to, please just answer the question. He viewed publicly available information, yes or no? Riley's jaw tightened. Yes. And when Marcus approached you at the library, he simply introduced himself and made conversation, correct? He made me uncomfortable. I told him I had to go. But he didn't threaten you. Not explicitly, but his behavior. Yes or no, Miss Martinez? Did Marcus threaten you at the library? No, but thank you. Now you claim Marcus stood outside your window one night, but there were no witnesses to this, correct? No cameras, just your word. I know what I saw. Your word against his, and you were frightened at the time, possibly not thinking clearly. Objection. Janet Reeves was on her feet. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Move along, counselor. Marcus's lawyer changed tactics. Miss Martinez, how many messages did you block from Marcus? I don't know. Dozens. And yet you continued checking them, reading them, keeping your social media accounts active even though you knew he was watching. Why? Because I was trying to document. Or were you enjoying the attention? Maybe initially you were flattered by Marcus's interest and then... No. Riley's voice rose. I was never flattered. I was terrified from the first moment. Everything he did made me feel unsafe and violated and... So you say. But isn't it possible you're exaggerating? Making a lonely man's awkward attempts at connection seem more sinister than they were. Riley looked at Marcus. He was watching her with those intense eyes, still smiling slightly, like this was all just a misunderstanding that would get cleared up soon. No, Riley said clearly. I'm not exaggerating. Marcus Webb stalked me. He terrorized me. He destroyed months of my life. He recruited someone to help him harass my friends even from jail. He's dangerous, and nothing his lawyer says will change what he did to me. The courtroom was silent. Marcus's smile finally faded. No further questions, his lawyer said quietly. Janet Reeves stood for redirect. Riley, why did you continue documenting Marcus's messages even though they frightened you? Because everyone kept telling me I needed evidence, that without proof there was nothing law enforcement could do, so I documented everything. I saved every message, every photo, every incident. I did everything I was supposed to do, and it still wasn't enough to stop him. What do you want the jury to understand about what Marcus did to you? Riley looked at the jury, 12 people who would decide Marcus's fate. I want them to understand that stalking isn't romantic. It's not flattering. It's terrorism. Marcus made me afraid to live my own life. He made me question my sanity. He isolated me from friends and family. He made everyone around me a target. And he did it all while staying just barely on the legal side of things until he couldn't anymore. That's not love. That's obsession. An obsession destroys people. She stepped down from the witness stand with her head high. Her father was crying. Jack nodded at her with something like pride. Sarah mouthed, "You did good." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Riley waited in a conference room with her father and the Iron Phoenix members, unable to eat, barely able to breathe. Everything came down to 12 strangers deciding whether to believe her or Marcus's carefully constructed victim narrative. Finally, word came. The jury had reached a verdict. They filed back into the courtroom. Riley's heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Marcus sat perfectly still, hands folded, face neutral. Has the jury reached a verdict? The judge asked. We have, Your Honor. On the charge of aggravated stalking, how do you find guilty? Riley's knees went weak. Her father grabbed her hand. On the charge of criminal threatening, guilty. On the charge of harassment, guilty. On the charge of violation of protective order, guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. On every single count, the word echoed through the courtroom like salvation. Marcus's face went white, then red, then white again. He turned to look at Riley one last time. She met his eyes steadily, refusing to look away, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her afraid. He mouthed one word, inevitable. But Riley shook her head. Nothing was inevitable except justice, and justice had finally come. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. Janet Reeves asked Riley if she wanted to give a victim impact statement. Riley said yes immediately. She'd already written it, had been writing it in her head for months. On sentencing day, Riley stood before the judge and read her statement. She talked about the fear, the isolation, the way Marcus had stolen her sense of safety. She talked about her father's guilt and her friend's trauma and the ripple effects of one man's obsession on dozens of lives. Marcus Webb took months of my life, Riley said. Time I'll never get back. Experiences I missed because I was too afraid to leave my house. But he didn't break me. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure other girls don't go through what I went through. Making sure stalkers like Marcus face real consequences before they escalate to violence. The judge listened, looked at Marcus, looked at the evidence file that was 3 inches thick, then pronounced sentence. Marcus Webb, you have been convicted of multiple counts of stalking and related crimes. Your behavior was calculated, persistent, and escalating. You showed no remorse, no understanding of the harm you caused. Even from jail, you continued to terrorize your victim. You recruited an accomplice to carry out harassment on your behalf. You demonstrated that you are a danger to this victim and potentially to others. Riley held her breath. I hereby sentence you to 14 years in state prison, followed by lifetime probation. You are required to register as a sex offender. You are prohibited from any contact with the victim or her family directly or through third parties for the rest of your life. You will serve this sentence without possibility of early parole. 14 years. Riley did the math quickly. Marcus would be 48 when he got out. She'd be 31, a lifetime away. Marcus was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. He looked back at Riley one final time, but his smile was gone. His confidence was gone. For the first time since the library, Marcus Webb looked like what he was, a predator who'd finally been caught. Outside the courthouse, Riley stood on the steps, surrounded by her father, Jack, Sarah, Detective Morrison, and the other Iron Phoenix members who'd protected her through the worst months of her life. Media cameras surrounded them, but Riley didn't care. She was free. Finally, truly free. How do you feel? A reporter called out. Riley thought about it. How did she feel? Relieved, exhausted, angry that it had taken so long, grateful for the people who'd stood beside her, changed in ways she was still discovering. I feel like I survived, Riley said finally, and survival is its own kind of victory. But victory felt hollow the next morning when Riley woke up and still checked her phone for threatening messages, when she still looked over her shoulder walking to the bathroom, when she still flinched at unexpected sounds. Marcus was in prison, but the damage he'd done lived on in Riley's nervous system, written into her reflexes and her nightmares. It takes time, her therapist, Dr. Sharon Martinez, told her during their first session after the trial. Your brain spent months in survival mode. You can't just flip a switch and go back to who you were before. What if I can't go back? What if this is who I am now? Then you learn to be this person. You integrate what happened into your story instead of letting it define your entire story. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. Riley, you survived something traumatic. That will always be part of you, but it doesn't have to be the biggest part. Riley wanted to believe that. She tried going back to school 2 weeks after sentencing, walked through the doors of Lincoln High with her father beside her past students who stared and whispered into her first period class where everyone stopped talking when she entered. "Welcome back, Riley," Ms. Peterson said warmly. "We're glad you're here." But being there felt wrong. Riley couldn't concentrate, kept watching the door, kept waiting for Marcus, even though Marcus was locked in a cell 300 miles away. By lunch, she was hyperventilating in the bathroom, Sarah rubbing her back while she tried to remember how to breathe. "You don't have to be ready yet," Sarah said gently. "There's no timeline for healing. I'm a senior. I'm supposed to graduate in 3 months. I'm supposed to be applying to colleges and planning my future, and you will. Just maybe not on the schedule you planned before." Riley ended up finishing her senior year through independent study. It wasn't what she'd imagined, no prom, no senior pranks, no graduation ceremony with her classmates. But she finished, graduated with a 3.7 GPA despite everything. Her father cried when the diploma arrived in the mail. "I'm so proud of you, mija," Carlos said, holding the diploma like it was made of gold. "After everything you went through, you still finished. You still fought." "I had help." Riley looked at him, really looked at him. Her father had aged in the past 6 months, new gray in his hair, new lines around his eyes. He'd sacrificed his career, his savings, his peace of mind to keep her safe. "Dad, I'm sorry for everything you gave up because of me. Don't you dare apologize. You didn't ask for any of this. You were targeted by a predator, and you survived. That's not something to apologize for. Still, you lost your job. We're barely making rent. And it's because I love you more than any job or any amount of money. And I'd do it all again in a heartbeat." He pulled her into a hug. "We'll figure out the money. We'll figure out everything. Together." But figuring it out was harder than Riley expected. College applications felt impossible. How was she supposed to write essays about her goals and dreams when she was still trying to remember how to feel safe? How was she supposed to plan for a future when she was still trapped in the past? Jack offered a solution she hadn't considered. "Come work with us, with Iron Phoenix. We're expanding the Guardian program. Need people who understand what it's like to be stalked, who can help other victims navigate the system." "I'm 18. I don't know anything about—" "You know more than most people ever will. You know what it feels like. You know what works and what doesn't. You know how the legal system fails and how to fight anyway." Jack's expression was serious. "Riley, you could help save lives. Real, actual lives. Think about it." She did think about it. Thought about it while filling out college applications that felt meaningless. Thought about it while lying awake at night still checking her phone compulsively, even though Marcus couldn't contact her anymore. Thought about it while watching the news report another stalking case where a young woman hadn't been as lucky as Riley, where the system had failed completely, where someone had died. 3 months after Marcus's sentencing, Riley called Jack. "I want to help. Tell me what to do." The Iron Phoenix Guardian program operated out of the same clubhouse where Riley had first met Jack and Sarah. They'd converted a back room into an office, computers, filing cabinets, phones that rang constantly with people needing help. Riley started as a volunteer, answering calls, taking reports, learning the system. Her first call came on a Tuesday morning. A woman named Jennifer, 23, being stalked by her ex-boyfriend. Jennifer's voice shook as she described the messages, the drive-bys, the way police kept telling her there wasn't enough evidence to arrest him. "I know how you feel," Riley said quietly. "I went through something similar. It's terrifying. It feels like no one believes you. They don't believe me. They think I'm overreacting. They say he hasn't actually done anything illegal. They told me the same thing. But you're not overreacting. Your fear is valid, and we're going to help you." Riley talked Jennifer through documenting everything, filing, restraining orders, building a case. She connected Jennifer with Detective Morrison, who'd become the department's go-to investigator for stalking cases. She arranged for Iron Phoenix members to provide security while Jennifer moved to a new apartment. 2 weeks later, Jennifer's ex violated the restraining order. Police arrested him on the spot because Morrison had already built a file, already established a pattern, already made sure the system wouldn't fail Jennifer the way it had almost failed Riley. "You saved my life," Jennifer said when she called to thank Riley. "If I'd kept trying to handle this alone, I don't know what would have happened." Riley hung up and cried. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that maybe surviving Marcus hadn't been meaningless. Maybe she could take that horror and transform it into something that helped others. Over the next 6 months, Riley helped 17 people escape stalking situations. Some cases resolved quickly. Others took months of patience and documentation and strategic planning. But every single person made it out alive, made it out safe. And that meant everything. Emma came to visit on a Saturday afternoon, bringing coffee and apologies. "I'm sorry I suggested you should just talk to Marcus. I'm sorry I didn't understand how serious it was." "You didn't know," Riley said. "Most people don't until it happens to them. I should have believed you immediately, should have supported you better. Instead, Emma's voice broke. "I almost made it worse. Em, you were scared too. Vanessa was following you. You were trying to survive too. I don't blame you. I blame me." Emma looked at Riley across the table. "You're so much stronger than I gave you credit for. What you're doing here, helping people, it's amazing. It's necessary. That's different than amazing." But it felt amazing when Riley got a call from a woman in California who'd read about Marcus's case online. Her name was Patricia, and she'd been one of Marcus's previous victims, one of the women who'd dropped charges and fled to another state rather than keep fighting. "I saw you testify," Patricia said, "saw you stand up to him. And I realized I never got justice because I was too afraid. But you weren't afraid. Or maybe you were afraid, but you did it anyway." "I was terrified," Riley admitted, "every second of that trial. But you did it anyway, and he's in prison because of you. Because you were brave enough to fight." Patricia took a shaky breath. "I want to help. I want to testify against Marcus if there's any way I can. I want to make sure he never gets out early. Never gets a chance to do this to anyone else." Riley connected Patricia with Janet Reeves, the prosecutor. Patricia's testimony, combined with testimony from Marcus's other victims, became part of a supplemental filing that would follow Marcus through every parole hearing for the next 14 years. A permanent record of the pattern of predation he'd established long before Riley. "You're building something important," Jack told Riley one evening as they locked up the office. "Not just helping individuals, you're changing the system, making it harder for guys like Marcus to slip through the cracks. One case at a time isn't enough. The system is still broken. So we fix it, piece by piece." Jack handed her a folder. "Remember I told you about Riley's Law, the legislation your case inspired?" Riley opened the folder. Inside was a bill proposed to the Arizona State Legislature strengthening stalking statutes, mandating police training, creating a victim advocacy fund, requiring GPS monitoring for all stalking arrests. It was everything Riley had wished existed when Marcus was terrorizing her. "It's moving through committee," Jack said. "Might actually pass, and if it does, you'll have saved more lives than you can count." Riley stared at the bill with her name on it. Riley's Law. Her nightmare transformed into protection for others. It felt impossible and necessary and overwhelming all at once. Her father had found work as a dispatcher for a local trucking company. Not the same as driving, not the same money, but enough to pay rent and keep them stable. He seemed lighter somehow, despite the financial stress. Like finally being home with Riley mattered more than the job he'd lost. "I talked to your aunt in San Diego," Carlos said over dinner one night. "She asked if we'd thought about moving there, starting fresh where Marcus never was." Riley's chest tightened. "What did you tell her?" "That we'd think about it. That maybe a fresh start would be good for both of us." He looked at Riley carefully. "What do you think?" "I think running away won't make the memories disappear. I think Phoenix is where I survived, where I learned to fight back, where I'm building something that matters." Riley pushed food around her plate. "I think leaving feels like letting Marcus win. Mija, Marcus lost. He's in prison. You won. Moving on with your life isn't letting him win. It's claiming your future. My future is here, helping people, working with Iron Phoenix. making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to others. Riley met her father's eyes. I'm not running anymore, Dad. I spent months running and hiding and being afraid. I'm done with that. I'm staying and I'm fighting and I'm making a difference. Carlos looked at his daughter and saw someone he barely recognized, harder, fiercer, carrying scars, but not letting them define her. Okay, then we stay, and we fight. But staying meant confronting Marcus's ghost everywhere. Riley couldn't go to the library where it started without remembering his voice. Couldn't drive past the botanical garden without remembering the trap they'd set. Couldn't walk through Lincoln High's parking lot without seeing the black sedan that used to follow her. Dr. Martinez called it exposure therapy. You face the memories instead of avoiding them. You prove to your brain that those places are safe now, that Marcus can't hurt you anymore. So Riley forced herself to go to the library, sat at the same table where Marcus had first approached her. Her heart raced and her palms sweated, but she stayed, read for an hour, left on her own terms. Small victory, but victory nonetheless. She went to Desert Bloom Coffee where he'd watched her, ordered the same vanilla latte, drank it while looking out the window, refusing to scan for threats, refusing to check over her shoulder every 30 seconds. Another small victory. She went to the track where she used to run, where Marcus had watched from his black sedan, put on her running shoes and ran 2 miles, then 3, then 5. Her body remembered how to move, how to fly, how to feel strong instead of hunted. The biggest victory yet. 6 months after sentencing, Detective Morrison called with news Riley had been dreading. Marcus filed an appeal. His lawyer is arguing ineffective counsel at trial, claiming the original lawyer didn't adequately represent him. Riley's stomach dropped. Does that mean a new trial? Probably not. Appeals like this rarely succeed. But it means the case isn't completely closed. It means you might have to testify again. Face him again. I'll do whatever it takes. Riley, you don't have to. The prosecutor can handle, I'll do it. Riley's voice was steel. Marcus needs to know that I'm not afraid of him. That I'll show up every single time he tries to manipulate the system. That I'm not going away. The appeal hearing was scheduled for 3 months out. Riley spent those months preparing herself mentally, working with victims, building her strength. She'd testified once. She could do it again. But 2 weeks before the hearing, something happened that changed everything. Riley was working at the Iron Phoenix office when a call came through. A teenager named Alexis, 15 years old, being stalked by a teacher at her school. No one believes me, Alexis sobbed into the phone. They say he's just being friendly, that I'm misinterpreting. But the way he looks at me, the messages he sends, the way he finds excuses to be near me, it's not friendly. It's terrifying. Riley's blood ran cold. She knew exactly what Alexis was feeling. I believe you. Tell me everything. The case was horrifyingly familiar. A predator using authority and charm to mask obsession. A system dismissing a young girl's legitimate fears. Parents who wanted to believe their daughter was safe, so they convinced themselves she was overreacting. I feel crazy, Alexis said. Like maybe I am making it up. Maybe I'm reading too much into normal teacher-student interaction. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Your instincts are telling you something is wrong because something is wrong. Riley felt rage building in her chest. We're going to help you. We're going to make sure you're protected. And we're going to make sure this teacher faces consequences before he hurts you or anyone else. Riley personally worked Alexis's case, connected the family with Detective Morrison, helped document every interaction, arranged for Iron Phoenix members to escort Alexis to and from school. And when the school district tried to sweep it under the rug, tried to claim there was no evidence of inappropriate behavior, Riley went nuclear. She contacted the media, told them her story, and connected it to Alexis's. Explained how predators operate, how they use authority and plausible deniability to terrorize victims while avoiding consequences. The story went viral. The school district was forced to investigate properly. The teacher was suspended, then arrested, then charged with multiple counts of inappropriate contact with minors. 4 other girls came forward after Alexis. 4 other students the teacher had targeted. 4 other families who'd been told their daughters were overreacting. Because of Riley's advocacy, because of her refusal to let another victim be dismissed and ignored, all 5 girls got justice. "You saved my daughter," Alexis's mother told Riley, crying. "If you hadn't believed her, if you hadn't fought for her." "Someone fought for me," Riley said simply. "I'm just paying it forward." The appeal hearing came 2 weeks later. Riley walked into the courthouse with her head high, Jack and Sarah flanking her father right behind. Marcus sat at the defense table, looking older, thinner, diminished somehow. Prison didn't suit him. His lawyer argued that Marcus's original attorney had been incompetent, had failed to present crucial evidence, had provided inadequate defense. Riley listened to them paint Marcus as a victim of poor legal representation, rather than a predator who'd terrorized her for months. When the prosecutor called Riley to testify, she walked to the stand with steady steps. Marcus watched her, his expression unreadable. "Miss Martinez," the prosecutor said, "the defense argues that you exaggerated the threat Marcus posed, that the original trial verdict was influenced by emotion rather than facts. What do you say to that?" Riley looked directly at Marcus. "I say, facts don't lie. The GPS records showing he violated restraining orders don't lie. The hundreds of messages he sent from different accounts don't lie. The wall of photos in his apartment don't lie. The fact that he recruited someone to harass me even from jail doesn't lie. Marcus Webb stalked me systematically for months and then tried to manipulate the legal system to avoid consequences. Nothing about the original trial was unfair. It was justice." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "How has Marcus's stalking affected your life?" the prosecutor asked. "It changed everything. I can't go places without checking for threats. I can't sleep without checking every lock. I lost scholarships because my grades dropped. I lost experiences because I was too afraid to live normally. But I refused to let it destroy me. I took what Marcus did and transformed it into something that helps others. I work with stalking victims now. I help them navigate the system that failed me. I make sure they know they're not alone, not crazy, not overreacting. Marcus tried to break me. Instead, he made me stronger." The judge denied the appeal. Marcus's conviction stood. His sentence stood. There would be no new trial, no second chance to manipulate a jury. It was over. Again. Maybe finally. Outside the courthouse, Riley gave a statement to the press. "Stalkers count on their victims being too afraid or too exhausted to keep fighting. They count on the system wearing us down until we give up. But I'm not giving up. I will show up to every appeal, every hearing, every parole board meeting for the next 14 years if that's what it takes. Marcus Webb will serve every day of his sentence, and when he gets out, I'll still be here, still fighting to protect others from men like him." That night, Jack called a meeting at the Iron Phoenix clubhouse. Riley walked in to find 20 people waiting. Iron Phoenix members, stalking victims. She'd helped Detective Morrison, Janet Reeves, the prosecutor, even Emma, and some of Riley's high school friends. "What's going on?" Riley asked. Jack smiled. "Riley's law passed. Full Senate approval today. Governor's expected to sign it within the week. Comprehensive stalking protection legislation. Your name is going to help save lives across this entire state." Riley's knees went weak. Her father caught her arm, steadied her. Around the room, people were applauding, some crying. All of them understanding what this meant, that Riley's nightmare had been transformed into protection for thousands of people she'd never meet. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Sarah said. "You already said it all, through your testimony, your advocacy, your refusal to disappear. You changed the conversation around stalking, made it impossible to ignore." That week, Riley was invited to the governor's office for the bill signing ceremony. She stood behind the governor as he signed Riley's law into effect, transforming Arizona's stalking statutes. Cameras flashed. Reporters asked questions. The governor praised Riley's courage and resilience. But the moment that mattered most came after, when a young woman approached Riley in the hallway. "My name is Maria. I'm being stalked by my ex. I was going to give up, move away, just let him win. But I saw your story, saw how you fought, and I decided to fight too. The new law, Riley's law, it's going to help me. Give me protections I wouldn't have had last week. You saved my life and you don't even know me. Riley hugged Maria, this stranger whose life had been changed by Riley's willingness to keep fighting when everything in her wanted to give up. You're going to be okay. We're going to make sure of it. 18 months after Marcus's sentencing, Riley enrolled in community college. Criminal justice major. She'd decided on a career path, victim advocacy. She'd work within the legal system, fix it from the inside, make sure what happened to her became harder to happen to others. Her father drove her to campus on the first day. You sure about this? I'm sure. This is what I'm supposed to do, who I'm supposed to be. You're going to change lives, mija. I already am. Now I'm just going to do it more officially. Riley walked into her first class introduction to criminal justice and took a seat. The professor started with a case study, a stalking case, a young woman terrorized by a predator who used legal loopholes to avoid consequences until a determined victim fought back and changed the law. This case, the professor said, represents a turning point in how we handle stalking. The victim, Riley Martinez, not only survived, but transformed her experience into legislation that has since been adopted or adapted by 12 states. She's an example of how individual courage can create systemic change. Riley sat in the back of the classroom listening to the professor talk about her like she was someone extraordinary. But Riley didn't feel extraordinary. She felt like someone who'd survived because she'd had help. Because Jack and Sarah and Detective Morrison and her father and even strangers had stood between her and a predator. Because the system, despite its flaws, had eventually worked. After class, Riley returned to the Iron Phoenix office. 3 new cases had come in while she was at school. She made calls, took notes, coordinated with Morrison's department. The work was endless but necessary. Every person she helped was proof that Marcus hadn't won, that Riley's story had a purpose beyond just surviving. That evening, Emma called. I got engaged. I wanted you to be the first to know after my parents. Riley felt joy pierce through the armor she'd built around her heart. That's amazing. Tell me everything. They talked for an hour about wedding plans and happiness and futures that weren't defined by fear. When they hung up, Riley realized she was smiling. Actually smiling. The weight she'd been carrying for 2 years hadn't disappeared, but it had shifted somehow. Become bearable. Her father noticed the change. You seem lighter today. Emma got engaged. Life is moving forward for people I love. That feels good. Life is moving forward for you too, mija. College, your work with victims. You're building something beautiful from something terrible. That night, Riley pulled out the journal Dr. Martinez had encouraged her to keep. She'd been writing in it sporadically since the trial processing trauma tracking progress. She flipped back through pages of fear and rage and despair. Then she wrote a new entry. 2 years ago, a man named Marcus Webb tried to destroy my life. He stalked me, terrorized me, made me afraid of my own shadow. The system failed me repeatedly until finally it didn't. Marcus is in prison serving 14 years. I survived. But more than surviving, I transformed what happened to me into something that protects others. Riley's Law exists. The Iron Phoenix Guardian program helps dozens of people every month. I'm studying to become a victim advocate. Marcus tried to make me his possession, his victim, his obsession. Instead, I became someone who fights for others who can't fight for themselves. That's the real victory. Not just surviving, but using survival to create change. 3 years after sentencing, Riley was offered a job with the county prosecutor's office, victim advocate coordinator. She'd work with stalking and domestic violence victims, help them navigate the legal system, ensure they had support throughout the prosecution process. It was everything she'd been working toward. This is incredible, her father said when she told him. A real career, salary and benefits, and a chance to change the system from the inside, make sure others don't fall through the cracks the way I almost did. Riley accepted the position. Started the following month. Her first case was a woman whose ex-husband had been stalking her for 6 months. The woman was exhausted, defeated, ready to give up. "I've been fighting for so long," the woman said. "I'm tired. I just want it to be over." Riley understood that exhaustion in her bones. "I know. I've been where you are, but giving up means he wins, and we're not going to let him win." Together they built a case. Together they stood up to a predator. Together they won. The ex-husband was convicted and sentenced to 8 years. The woman hugged Riley afterward, crying with relief. "You saved my life." "No," Riley said. "You saved your own life by refusing to give up. I just helped you find the tools." 4 years after Marcus's sentencing, Riley got a call from the parole board. Marcus was eligible for a parole hearing in 10 years. They wanted to know if Riley planned to attend. "Every single one," Riley said without hesitation. "I'll be there for every hearing for the rest of his sentence. He needs to know that I haven't forgotten, that I won't let him manipulate his way to early release." Jack was proud, but concerned. "Riley, you've built a good life. Don't let Marcus keep controlling any part of it." "He's not controlling anything. I'm controlling this. I'm making sure he serves his full sentence. That's not him having power over me. That's me having power over him." 5 years after sentencing, Riley spoke at a national conference on stalking and intimate partner violence. She told her story to an audience of law enforcement prosecutors, victim advocates, and survivors. When she finished, she got a standing ovation. Afterward, a woman approached her. "I'm a prosecutor in Oregon. I've been handling stalking cases for 15 years. Your story, your advocacy, the legislation you inspired, it's changed how we approach these cases nationally. You've saved lives you'll never meet. People who exist today because you fought back." Riley thought about that woman's words on the drive home. People who exist because she fought back. Lives saved by her refusal to give up. It didn't erase what Marcus had done, didn't take away the trauma or the scars, but it gave meaning to the pain, transformed horror into hope. She thought about the girl she'd been at 17, honor student track athlete planning for college, worried about normal things like grades and friends and her father's long absences. That girl was gone. Marcus had killed her as surely as if he'd used a weapon. But in her place was someone stronger. Someone who understood darkness but chose to fight for light. Someone who'd survived the worst thing she could imagine and decided to spend her life making sure others wouldn't have to survive alone. Riley Martinez was no longer just a victim of stalking. She was an advocate, a fighter, a voice for those who couldn't speak. She was proof that predators don't always win, that systems can be changed, that individual courage can ripple outward and touch lives across distances and time. Marcus Webb had tried to possess her control, break her. Instead, he'd forged her into something he never expected, someone who would spend her life ensuring that men like him faced consequences. Someone who would stand between predators and prey for as long as breath remained in her body. That was the real victory. Not just surviving Marcus's obsession, but transforming that survival into protection for others. Taking the worst thing that ever happened and using it to prevent the same horror from consuming others. Riley pulled into the parking lot of the Iron Phoenix clubhouse where Jack and Sarah and a dozen other protectors waited. Where victims became survivors, became advocates. Where fear was transformed into action. She walked through those doors carrying her past but not defined by it. Carrying scars but not broken. Carrying purpose that had been forged in fire but burned brighter than any darkness that had tried to consume her. And somewhere in a prison cell 300 miles away, Marcus Webb sat knowing that he'd failed, that Riley Martinez had not been broken, that she'd won not just the battle, but the war, that every day she fought for others was another day his obsession became meaningless. Justice isn't always fast, and healing isn't always neat, but both are possible when people refuse to give up. When individuals stand between predators and prey. When survivors become advocates, and advocates change systems, and systems protect people who might otherwise fall through the cracks. Riley Martinez survived. More than survived, she transformed survival into salvation for others. And that made every terrifying moment, every sleepless night, every battle with a broken system worthwhile. Because in the end, she wasn't just a girl who ran from a stalker and found bikers who protected her. She was a woman who took that protection and paid it forward to countless others, who took her darkest nightmare and transformed it into light that guided others through their own darkness. That's the power of refusing to be broken. That's the victory that matters most.